I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
We're exporting a whole lot of really bad and dangerous rhetoric, bad research, and unfortunately it's being picked up and amplified in other countries.
It's the same battle, Mr. Myers. We've been at it before. They want to addict these kids, this time to an e-cigarette, which has a chemical that's addictive. We know what it leads to. Sadly, it leads to tobacco addiction, disease, and death.
I'm going to get you addicted to nicotine. I have a customer for life. We have hundreds of cases nationwide where people have gotten sick or died using these devices.
Look what they're trying to do. All the delicious flavors of e-cigarettes are poison.
They're not people giving up smoking. They're not people that ever smoked before. Most people that vape never smoked before. Just think if your kid was doing this and winds up with an IQ 10 or 15 points lower than he or she would have had for the rest of her life.
Most people who vape are current or former smokers. For the addicted adult smoker who switches, there's going to likely be a reduction in risk.
There's a tremendous push to bring about prohibition, to actually prohibit vaping. Whereas the evidence strongly suggests that actually, up to now, the most successful way of people stopping smoking cigarettes is vaping.
Yeah. When vaping increases, smoking decreases.
That's right.
When vaping is restricted, smoking increases.
We're worried that, in fact, a lot of members of the public still think that using an e-cigarette is as harmful as smoking a cigarette. I mean, I have said that it would be tragic if smokers didn't quit and carried on smoking because they hadn't tried an e-cigarette, because they were worried about the safety of an e-cigarette.
The most disheartening thing is still the anti-choice rhetoric, the desire to enforce this quit or die mentality and refuse to allow individuals to reduce their risk unless they're willing to give up everything.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
That was a lot of intro, but yeah, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Friday, and we're here, and I see that Megan dropped by before the show to say that she couldn't hang out for the show, but she would watch the replay. And I see my friend Tom from the I think he's I don't want to call him a Kiwi because he'll get mad if he's an Aussie, but one of the two. And Bill and Miss Yolanda, I know she's from a Kiwi. And David Moyle and Mark Sliss from Michigan, and some Bruni didn't show up yet. Kevin said hello to Bruni so that Bruni would know that we were live, because Bruni always forgets. But here we are, Friday night. Saturday is ahead. And between now and then, we get to talk about some really cool shit. So hello and welcome. We're going to have some fun. Kevin is back. Kevin was not here for the last two shows, so we had to have substitutes while Kevin was away. But Kevin was away last week at the premiere of You Don't Know Nicotine, so we're going to get him in here and get a little brief discussion about his trip to Milwaukee. I'm saying that right. Milwaukee, to tell us how he enjoyed the show. We don't want to ruin it by giving too much away, but at least he can talk about his experience. So without much more yapping, let's bring old Kevin in.
Further ado.
Hello, Kev. Long time no see.
Listen, I missed you. I missed everybody in the room, and then I see new faces in the room. I like that. We social distance. I did get to hug one cranky old broad, who I don't.
She's not in the room yet, so
I haven't seen her yet. I did a quick milling around, got back in the car, and I was I knew most of the things up there on the screen, but wow, I can say wow. So
yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
There's some really good points in there about this, and I see a little trickling here and there, but yeah, it's well worth the watch.
So it's worth the the wait. I'm a backer of the film, and I know that I think you're a backer of the film too.
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, okay, you've had your little premiere. Where's my free download of the movie? So that's not how this works, folks.
No.
For this film to build steam, it has to have these events, and everything has to be done properly and timely. And I'm one of the early adopters. Aaron's been on the show. We love Aaron. I've supported him. I truly believe that he has the best of intentions, I guess I should say, that he wants to bring the truth out to people. And, I understand that there's a couple places where he pulls some people's pants down, and they didn't even realize that he was doing that when he did it. But
I don't think he did.
Well, I think he knew that he did it, but I don't think the people that they were interviewing.
I'm sorry, I don't think they did. Not he.
Could you be less spoilery?
I can elaborate this way. I expected and told Aaron specifically, I do not want this to be about vaping. If this is just about vaping, I'm kicking your ass or whatever, whatever I got to do. I'm going to be really pissed. And he exceeded far beyond my expectations of what I wanted to know. No, I wanted to know, not conjecture. I want to know stuff. So, wow. Hi, Mark. Hi, Bill.
Paulie, I think our chat room is full of Canadians and Aussies and New Zealanders tonight.
Can we call them jugheads? Is that
no?
Okay.
No. We don't insult our. No. I insult our viewers. You don't do that. I'm bad cop. You're good cop.
I'm a good cop.
Except for apparently the grumpy old broad, but cranky old. Okay. So we've been paying a lot of attention to America on this show, obviously, because we're Americans, and in the last little bit of time, I've been focusing a lot on what's going on other places. We did the World Vape Day show, and that really brought we've done quite a few shows on Australia just because we have a lot of Kiwis and a lot of Aussies. I know those are two different people, but we have a lot of friends in that part of the world. So we have spent a lot of time on there, and we had Regulator Watch Guy. We had Brent on the show, and he's a Canadian. But I really wanted to, and you brought this guest to us. I mean, you're the one that said to me, "Do you know her?" And I was like, "No, I don't know her. Let's bring her on." So I've done a little surface digging, like I've researched a little bit, but our guest tonight is a Canadian nurse. And I have a love for nurses because I'm married to one, so I have to be nice. And Bill, I forgot Bill. Bill was one of your substitutes while you were gone, and Bill is Canadian as well.
Yay!
So, it's really bad. I had Bill and Paul on, and I was the only guy with hair. No, I'm just. Paul's growing his hair too, so anyway. Let's go ahead and bring out our guest, Miss Kellie Ann. And I've already forgotten her name because everything that I see just says Kellie Ann. And the problem is that just makes me think of Donald Trump. Oh, before we bring the guest on, we do have to mention the fact that the President of the United States and the First Lady have both tested positive for the COVID. And sometime this afternoon, Donald Trump was taken to Walter Reed Medical Center. Now, it said specifically he walked to the car. That it was just just to make sure. There was nothing really wrong with him, but he has had a fever all day today. So let's send all of our positive vibes to the Cheeto in Chief, because whether I agree with him or not, I don't want to wish ill on anyone. And really,
Ron Marshall is in the room, by the way. I've never seen Ron in here.
Hi, Ron. So yeah, let's make a point to take a minute. And I know we're in a very politicized environment right now, and there's a lot of poison being, lobbed at each other on social media because everybody is way braver on social media than they are in real life. Let's just take a moment and say, okay, let's hope everything is okay, because the alternative, if something were bad to happen in the next, little bit of time, and Mike Pence had to be the president of the United States, we are screwed. Just saying. So anyway, let's bring Kellie out, because we've been talking and she's been sitting in the back room all by herself now. And I just don't feel good about leaving the guest in the background. Yes, no. David Moyle is also another Kiwi. So we've got quite a few Kiwis in the room tonight.
Sweet.
And the lovely Miss Yolanda Jeffries and I'm not saying that right, will have to come on in the future, because she just, she's taken a position working with Dr. Glover, who we've already had on the show.
She causes trouble.
Oh my God. I love Dr. Glover. But anyway, let's bring Kellie Ann out, because you're just delaying this. So, hello, Kellie Ann.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes. You're pretty awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming, because you got two chuckleheads here. We're fairly well educated chuckleheads, but we're still chuckleheads. And yes, I am. Ed West says that he's here for another redhead. I am surrounded by gingers. It is not cool, because Kevin is bad enough, but I don't know Miss Kellie Ann well enough to form an opinion, but I think she might be able to get a little feisty if we
she will insult you wrong. You know it.
Probably. Well, she is a nurse and pretty smart. I'm looking at her website. She looks pretty smart by looking at the website. It's pretty well put together. So, Kellie Ann.
Yes.
One of the things that we like to do, and I think pretty much every one of these little vape shows does, is how did you tell us your story? Tell us about you.
Well, I'm a Canadian registered nurse. I was a smoker of 30 years, and I discovered vaping in 2013. And it worked for me. So I couldn't find very good information on what I was inhaling, because this was before the Royal College of Physicians had released their paper, Nicotine Without Smoke. And so I started doing research by accessing a medical database and looked up everything I could find on vaping. So I read about 300 published articles. And then I had a good understanding of the science at that time. This was 2014. And I wrote a paper. It was fully referenced. It cites 52 citations. And it's about 21 pages, a 15-minute read. And I wrote it in conversational English so anyone could understand it. And I copyrighted that in 2015. And then I started advocating. In 2016, in April, I opened up my nonprofit, which is Vaping Advocacy and Education Project, which is VAEP for short. Oh, there it is. So yes, this has been a huge endeavor for me. I have self-taught myself web design and graphics design and social media and a whole bunch of skills I never thought I'd need as an RN. But I feel very passionately about informed decision-making, particularly with harm reduction. And smoking is the most preventable cause of disease and death in North America. And health professionals are very frustrated with their smoking patients because they have a hard time quitting. So I felt that the public had a right to know the findings from the scientific evidence because they weren't getting the information through traditional sources, such as health-related nonprofits and government and health authorities. So I've dedicated over 6,000 volunteer hours because I do keep track of my time. This is the 6th revision of the website. But so we have over 100 resources on the website that fully referenced, and everything's in conversational English, so it's easy to understand. And that's what I've been doing with my life for the last few years.
Well, I mean, Kevin and I spend a lot of time doing this, and we haven't really gotten any further than Twitter. Well, no, I take that back. Kevin does have a website.
Yeah, but I promoted the crap out of her vaping the truth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because there's a U.S. version, and we also have a French-Canadian version as well.
Ah, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on our downloads page. All of our printable resources are all free and online.
Okay.
Oh, this is pretty cool, though. I'm going to go back to this. So, this is your download section on your website, and you scroll down and you have all this really cool stuff, and you did send me some graphics that I looked at, and they're very informatic style. So they're very easy to read.
We call those shareables.
Yeah.
So they're like a meme, and I utilize text and color and graphics to convey concepts, and then they're fully referenced. And they come in a Facebook shape, and I make them into a Twitter shape. But our Twitter does nothing at all. So and I just don't have time to babysit it. Yeah.
Kevin, teach your Twitter.
Is that the Vaporize one?
No, VAEP World. All of our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook page and group, 2 groups, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. And I have yet to populate the Pinterest one. It's an issue of time. And then we have a YouTube channel too, and it's all under VAEP World. Yeah.
So all of you guys listening, you need to go on to Twitter and do that at VAEP World and hit that follow button. And if you really like alerts, hit that alert button next to it, because I think Kevin and I might start just tagging VAEP World in all of our tweets for a little while, just to get people pointed in the right direction.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Because Kevin lives on Twitter, and I visit there frequently. So I'm fairly okay on Twitter, but Kevin is like the bot. He's a
guru
robot. So
I'm almost a bot. So I want to say something up front that Kellie's accomplished with this site is it is what public health should be doing for adults to find for information, and everything is referenced that I know of. I've gone through it a few times, and I've gone, wow. So
and Kevin loves like actual links that he can say, oh, well, I got this information here. Now, he does sometimes take a screenshot and then draws arrows and underlines stuff.
That's great. I love that.
It does get really convoluted because there's like 14 arrows going in different directions and different things highlighted. And sometimes I have to say, hey, Kev, what do you point? Can you show me, but he does know what he's doing. And he's successful enough that like 5 academic studies have been conducted and named him on the effect of Twitter influencers on vaping. So
wow, that's significant. That's awesome.
Patrick's supposed to address me as your botanist.
Your botanist.
So you get accused of being a bot, is that right? Because you share so much or retweet.
Because he's not a human being. He's a robot.
I didn't even know I was in it until it was pointed out, and I don't think Jim McDonald himself was. I think it was Vaping
360
was DRMA. I can't think of his
real name.
I think it's Johnny something at the moment, and then
Johnny 2 Bits or Johnny 2 something. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then I think there was 2 or 3. We were the top 5, I think, and yeah, that was one of the fun studies.
Yeah, and then what is it? Amelia Howard wrote a piece about like dissecting, like, and they actually, when they released their initial data set, like they actually retracted it or pulled it so that people couldn't find out that we were, we were real people, or that they were real people. So Clayton is in the room. He says, longtime fan and follower. That must be for you because nobody likes us.
I doubt that.
and Jennifer, the Juice Fairy, is in the room. Mark Sliss says that your shareables are amazing advocacy tools.
Yeah, so we have over 100 shareables now. So they're designed to be able to teach people concepts very quickly. They're very colorful. They utilize graphics and text to convey specific concepts. So if you go to our homepage.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've created some really weird things.
I was clicking on the It's All Bullshit poster.
Honestly, I just get frustrated sometimes, and that's my sarcasm. I really should probably redesign that.
No, we actually like this. We're gonna get these printed out and hang out in like every shop in the United States.
Oh wow! Well, I've got an offer for that too. I'm designing a whole program, but if you go to the homepage, there you go, and just scroll down a little bit, you'll come to like the checkerboard. Okay, so why don't we go into the page that I just made for the US? I wasn't planning on doing this for a little while, but because I'm on your show tonight, I was literally up till 5 a.m. making shareables for this page because it was important to me. I mean, I care about the US too. I care about all people, not just Canada. And you guys are just having as rough a run of it as the vaping community in Canada. And I try to make, for everything I make with Canadian statistics, I try to make things for American statistics too, because we're neighbors, right? Yep. So if you go into vaping and lung injuries, the next one, the one in the middle, okay, so this is our valley section. If you scroll down a little, it goes into, there's like 5 sections in this section.
Section 1 is what happened.
What happened, yeah. So so if you go to what happened, you'll see a shareables collection. Right. Oh, and so this is a shareables collection. So if you click on one of those pictures, there you go. Yeah. So you can save this to your phone or your hard drive, and then you can share it with people through text or social media or through email, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you just close it. So each shareable is fully referenced with the source of the information that you see on the shareable. And then just below it, I have a little bit of a narrative. So this explains what happened with the valley. And then if you scroll down a little more, there's another shareables collection there, just if you have more time. And then go down a little further, it'll link you to 2. See, it says what went wrong in Canada and what went wrong in the USA. So this is a new page. I literally made this page this afternoon. So click on that, and then you'll see that I think I made 12 shareables for the US. So when I was reviewing Kevin's resources that he sent to me, and I'm so grateful, Kevin, thank you, because it gave me really, really good sources of information as to what went haywire in your country. And then I created these shareables from the resources, and they're all referenced, and then they have the little narrative underneath them. But what I found most concerning was the part that CDC played in this. And so many of those shareables have to do with the CDC. I think the first 4 do. I could probably make shareables all day, every day for a year. because there's so much information that I can translate into these little bite-sized pieces of information. But see how I use graphics there, right? Like I don't say CDC's lying. I just kind of put them over the myth stack, right? Right? And I don't say that they're doing it for money. I just put an image in there that implies something, right?
This is a word that Kevin likes, confirmation bias.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a direct quote from the Society of the Study of Addiction. That's very serious, very, very strong words for a publication to use those words. Just take that seriously when you see it.
Yeah, the CDC have displayed confirmation bias. They have persisted in acting as if nicotine vaping was the cause of the outbreak, vaping-related lung injuries, in the face of their own strengthening evidence that the cause was vaping cannabis oils contaminated with vitamin THC. Now,
yeah, and then if you see down below Society for the Study of Addiction, that little lettering along the bottom, that's your reference. So these are all referenced. And that allows people like me who require a greater depth of knowledge, that allows like health professionals to look up the original source of that information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the thing that always drives like Kevin and I really crazy about this particular topic is we knew last August that this was going to happen. That there was a we did a show and we mentioned it. I can actually pull the show. We actually did a show last August before the first case was actually even reported. Leafly, which is a marijuana publication, actually released a warning in August. Now, neither Kevin nor I actually participate in that recreational product, but we do have friends that do, and they warned us. They check this out. This is not going to be good for us, and we talked about it on the show even then. And here we are. Like, I can pull tweets where we shared that information with the Surgeon General, with the CDC, with all these asshats, and they refused to listen. We've talked about it on this show. I called out the Surgeon General, and I was like, look, all these people are getting sick and going to the hospital. Shouldn't we be doing blood tests to see what's in their blood? Oh, no. Why? Oh, no. If we were to blood test all these people, they wouldn't trust their doctors anymore. We're going to have to rely on their own self-reporting.
Yeah. Yeah. They did that. They did self-reporting in Canada too. They did not do any lung biopsies. They didn't test the equipment that people were using. They didn't do a toxicology screening. Their current page on the vaping related lung injuries mentions nicotine, I think 5 or 6 times, and vitamin E acetate once. Right. So, and I know, and I have a shareable on this, this is in the first part of the evaluation section, and I am an emergency room nurse, and I've had patients come in and I can tell they're on drugs and they don't tell me, right? So I know they're lying, but they're afraid, right? They're afraid of getting caught and going to jail, which is a really bad strategy because I need to know what's in your system before I can give you drugs to help you, right? But that said, then when the CDC came out with, I think it was 13% said they vaped nicotine only. I have a shareable on this too. I pulled up a study and the study showed that 18% of those on illicit drugs in the emergency room will lie. So that's why you need to do, and I do toxicology urine sample to see if they're on drugs because I need to know, right? I can tell you where that is if you want to scroll through this. I know this website here very well. Which page is that?
This is the U.S.
What went wrong? No, it's the one prior to that. The first section of the evaluation section. So go back a page, and then your first section is called "What Happened." Oh. Yeah, there. What happened?
Yeah, I clicked on the wrong thing.
is right in the middle there.
There we go.
Yeah. So I think it's on the second set of shareables. It's black. Right there. That one. Ta-da! So you just share that to your mom when she gives you a hard time about it, right? You know, like it makes it easy for people to learn.
Yeah, but I mean, here in the States, obviously we do have states that are, that THC use is legal. It's never legal for a minor, but it's legal for adults. The vast majority of the people that got ill were minors. And
15% were minors, but the vast majority were early 20s. I think it was 76% were under 30,
but
and
most
66% were male. So that's your demographics for drug use. Yeah,
we're in states that it's not legal to use.
Yeah, and then the ones that were using illicit drugs in states that where cannabis is legal. They lied about their usage because they weren't using, government approved products, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, here in Texas, we had a couple cases. Marijuana is not legal in Texas. And obviously, the kids or the adults or anybody that uses these products are not going to say, oh, you know what, I bought this cart from a guy on the corner at the park or wherever. I sold it out of his trunk of his car because it's got THC in it.
Not necessarily. When you're in an emergent situation and you can't breathe, believe me, you will tell me anything that will be able to help. And that's why it's only 18% of patients who use illicit drugs will lie to an emergency room personnel, right? Because if you're under distress and you can't breathe, all those filters disappear, believe me. So they are more forthright depending on the level of distress they're under, right? Does that make sense?
I do like this one, though. I'm going to show this one because I just like this one.
Oh, thank you. I like that guy, too.
Yes.
This is the future of vaping, the vaping industry in America. If the deeming doesn't get reformed,
I agree.
And that I'm going to step away from this topic for just 1 second because I want to address something that I continue to see on Twitter in regards to this. I'm going to say it. In regards to the whole fucking deeming thing.
Oh, there it is.
If I see one more dumbass vape advocate, and not all vape advocates are smart or logical, tweet, well, Donald Trump is still going to say vaping. If I see that one more time, I am going to go off. I actually partially fucking went off today. I was like, it's been almost a year since he held those meetings in DC with all the stakeholders and everybody, and he appeared to understand the issues. And this is before fucking COVID. Hold the sign up one more time.
I'll be right back. I'm going to tweet that so that way you can go off.
This is a year. This is before COVID. If your head is so far up your damn ass that you think that motherfucker is going to save your job, save your business, you need to just stop. Please.
Trump cares.
I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Is Ed in the room?
Yeah, I have something to say about that.
All right.
Okay.
So I've been watching the vaping industry and community for 5 years as I've been reviewing the science. And there have been thousands of meetings with authority, with health authorities and government and elected officials. And people have written thousands of emails and thousands of letters and had rallies and meetings. And I started out my advocacy, I presented to the city of Edmonton. And I was very nervous. I had a heart rate of 110. And there were two physicians there from our health authority, and the town council was there. And I gave my little 5-minute presentation, and then the council focused on the physicians and asked them questions. And it was very clear to me right away that they had done no research. They were simply repeating a script. And I got a few questions asked to me, and the city council are intelligent people, right? And they realized that I knew things that those doctors didn't know. And then they started to ask me more and more questions, and I was citing more and more science, because that's how I do my learning, as I read published articles. And then I could see that they had, kind of a disappointment in their addressing the physicians at that point, and they tabled banning vaping. So then I emailed them all with credible evidence on the subjects that they were interested in, and then they came back a week later and banned it. And this was right at the beginning when I became an advocate, and right after I finished writing my paper, so it was spring of 2015. And I realized then that I'm wasting my fucking time. That these people answered to someone other than me. Right? Sorry, I shouldn't have swore. But really,
no, you're allowed. You're totally allowed.
I learned that very early in my career, and I decided, or in my career, my role as an advocate. So, I know a lot of people have a lot of meetings with all these people, and they give them great hope. But then, part of being a nurse is that we do what's known as a nursing plan. You assess a situation. You do a diagnosis of what needs to be addressed. You put a plan together. Then you implement the plan. And then you evaluate the outcomes. Okay? So when people tell me about these great meetings they've had with, various agencies and people in power, my focus is always evaluate the outcomes. So you may leave that meeting feeling good and understood, and that they get where you're coming from, but we are not part of their circles, right? There are lobbyists that are part of their circles, and the largest lobbying industry in the U.S. is, and probably Canada, I'm unclear, is the pharmaceutical industry. Okay, and second to them is the oil and gas, but oil and gas has half the manpower and the dollar value of lobbying than the pharmaceutical industry does. Okay, so I just ask vapers and the industry to look at the outcomes of all of those efforts, all those millions of dollars and millions of hours and all of that effort, and what have these politicians that make regulations actually put into place. They're very oppressive. They're based on misinformation. The public is misinformed, and the health professionals are misinformed. And the reason that they can get away with oppressing the solution to smoking is because the health professionals and the public are misinformed. That is the fundamental problem. And so I see tons of efforts continuing to do the same thing, pleading and groveling and begging authority for fairness. And I think they've answered that question with what is in place as far as regulations go. Mm-hmm. So if we want to really save this industry, for me, I'm not industry. I'm a nurse. I'm a health professional. What I want to facilitate informed decision making. Okay. I want people to have accurate information so they can make their own decision on whether they support vaping or not. But the narrative is fear-based and negative. And it is being disseminated from global centralized locations like WHO, goes down into the countries, then the countries disseminate that down into businesses and down into healthcare, and it trickles down until it reaches your nurse in your emergency department, and she has a head full of vaping's really bad, and so she recommends to her patient who can't quit smoking, best to keep smoking because vaping is so harmful. That's a travesty. Okay? So I've always said, and I've been saying this for years, is the problem is misinformation. And the solution to misinformation is education. So I've spent 6,000 hours in the last 5 years making learning tools that help people learn easily, right?
And this is kind of embarrassing because when Kevin said, do you know Kellie Ann? We need to get Kellie Ann on the show. And I was like, okay. And then I started looking and I'm like, this is cool. How come I didn't know this existed?
Kelly.
Now, Kevin, this is your part of the show here. Just 1 second. I'm going to show you your script. Okay. Just 1 second.
Uh-oh. And I am planning, you know that, right? So Kelly, when she said quit screaming. So Kelly, when you and I were talking, or you were on a show, or we were maybe on a board at one point, I can't remember how this came about in my head, and it popped in my head when you were saying you want the public informed. Part of your role in this is you have to tell the truth either way, but if you don't, you can be delicensed or whatever it is, defrocked, whatever you want to call it in your country. They can take your nursing license away from you, right?
Well, I mean, how accurate is that when you consider that physicians are recommending that their patients smoke instead of vaping? So we can only share information that we know, right? Yeah. Now, I am contrarian to the narrative, and my license has come under investigation a multitude of times because of the information I have on my website, and that's why everything is referenced, right? So this is a horrible thing as a health professional to be accused of misconduct or lying to the public for financial gain. Believe me, this has cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the reason that I still have a license is because when investigated, I've covered my butt by making sure everything's referenced and it's based in credible evidence. So if I did deceive the public, yes, I could lose my license. But they believe that I am deceiving the public because I'm contrarian to the narrative, right? But once investigated, I'm doing exactly what I was trained to do, right? Yeah.
You're one of the few in the world, and a member of MOVE still. I know it's not like a booming organization, but MOVE, and you wrote that paper through them as well.
No, I let them put it on their.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I wrote that independently.
So that was something you did for yourselves in Canada and Americans as well, and the world, of course. But those were specific to us.
But you know what's interesting about that paper is I copyrighted that in 2015. Mm-hmm. And there was and I copyrighted it for a reason because it gave it a timestamp. The evidence was available in 2014. There was enough compelling evidence to understand that this is a significant harm reduction strategy for smokers. Mm-hmm. So in the last 5 years, how many smokers have been diagnosed with smoking related diseases because they didn't know that they had an option?
Yeah.
Right? I have to stop saying right. I'm already critiquing me.
A.
Right?
A?
I know, right?
I should say A.
A. So your reputation's on the line. I watched your testimony.
My career.
I tried. You're right. I tried looking for the testimony because if you can link that eventually, or send it to me, and we'll put it on another show if I have to.
Oh, it's so bad. I don't think I want to watch it again.
You think it's bad? I thought it was beautiful because.
Well, I also presented to Legislative Assembly in Nova Scotia last spring. I did a rally out there too and did a speech, right? And I would love to do nothing but. Right? I mean, if I could earn a living doing this, I mean, you would have me 60 hours a week working on this, right? But, I got to pay my bills, so I nurse.
Yep. And so few.
Oh, no. Don't.
You found it.
Oh, be merciful. God almighty. The speech is good, but like when I'm really nervous and reading, I over enunciate. So what the troll? Remember, I told you there was a troll. Yeah, he said I was faking a British accent. Now that's all I hear when I read. I was just like, oh God, but I'm not. I'm just nervous. I'm not a public speaker.
You're like Madonna because she has a fake British accent now.
Oh, right. I think Britney Spears does too, right?
You're faking a British accent?
No, I enunciate very clearly, and
she speaks very properly. And
all right, I'll quit trolling you. Fine.
Kevin, don't embarrass the guest, man.
Yeah. I have so much makeup on, you can't see me blushing, so it's okay.
Kevin normally has color, but he put so much pale. He's washed himself out.
I can see your freckles, though. I love them. That's when you know you're a real ginger.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you know that we have up to 3 times more sensory nerves and we bleed out fast?
Yeah, we do.
We are genetically different. Yeah.
If I'm stabbed, I'm gone. And we're both smarter than Patrick. So there you go.
That's possible. It's possible. Well, she might be, but you're an ex-cabbie.
That's true. No,
you might have seen more like humiliating things in the backseat of your car than I have, but
I did. If you found that link, put that in the chat.
Yeah,
it's well worth listening to, and it's still timely.
Even with the fake British accent.
Stop it.
Now, for some reason,
I shouldn't have said anything. You might not have noticed.
For some reason, this video is tagged as inappropriate language.
Is it really?
Yeah, because it's true.
Yeah, look, I'll show you. Boom. This may have This may be inappropriate for some users, and then I click on it. What did you say?
I didn't swear. Like this, I was reading from a script. There's the back of my head there. Yeah, I didn't realize that this was going to be filmed. Like I'm so like.
What year is it?
Out of it. I don't really pay attention.
This is 2020. This is March 7th of 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you say that you? I'm going to throw it in the chat room.
I didn't say anything inappropriate. I didn't.
Trying to use a fake English accent.
That's it. That's my whole reputation is going to be based on this now. Me and my big mouth, right?
Maybe some Brits tagged it because of.
Oh God! I just want to die.
Kevin.
No.
Kevin, it's all your fault.
She knows I respect her.
So, did you notice, Kevin? I'm gonna segue just a minute. Did you notice that I fiddled with the intro video this week?
You did. I don't like that. Go ahead.
Why didn't you like it? Which part didn't you like?
You threw me off at the end. I'm not used to that.
Oh, well, I've been seeing the crab smoking video.
Is that real? Like, is the crab really smoking?
Yes.
It looks like it.
On the video, he brings it to his mouth and smoke comes out.
Yeah. A crustacean.
Yeah. And this week I saw that. I mean, it's been shared. I've seen it before, but I had the idea to add it behind a Bloomberg line. And then when I found that video, because I had to download it and do some editing and things, but when I found that one, I found the cockroach video.
Oh, that was terrible to do that to that little creature.
And then I knew that I could use that behind the guy from Public Health England talking about people dying from smoking because they've been scared away from vaping. And you know, I've been tweaking it. I added the Australian bit with the two newscasters talking about how stupid it is to ban vaping. But you know, I'm throwing that out there for opinions because I did make and I did play it briefly at the beginning, but there's a lot of people that missed it, so I'm going to throw it back up here real quick. My edited PSA about the crab smoking. So just 1 second.
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
So, you know, obviously the audio is from a commercial from like the 80s, a PSA from the 80s about the dad finds the kid's drug stash in the closet, and he's like yelling at him, "Where did you find this? This is not mine. This is..." So I learned from watching you. The animal kingdom are falling prey to smoking addiction because humans have not learned how to vape yet.
That's right.
Well, as to kids, children that have one smoking adult in the home have a 72% higher chance of being smokers themselves. I have a shareable for that too. It's in our, I think it's in our basic info or our youth shareable selection.
I'm a kid of the 70s, so both of my parents smoked, and everybody that we knew, all the adults that ever came and hung out at our house also smoked.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, if I walked through the house, my eyes would swell up and turn bright red and start watering. And
wow.
It was evil. But then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to join them. When I was 12 years old, I started smoking. And then my eyes stopped puffing up.
Your words adult right there. I don't know where I stole this. This is completely plagiarism on my comment here. When you're a kid, you're told grow up. You want to be an adult.
Right. Yeah.
What are adults doing? They're smoking. So what do? You smoke. So there you go.
Well, I have a whole section on my website on youth. It's called Adolescence and Adult Activities. It's normal adolescent behavior to experiment with adult taboos. Yeah. Okay. That section is fully referenced too. I would like this website to be fully referenced, but it's just a time issue.
Yep.
So what we found, if you go to the next page, there's a graphic there. Go into making a smoker. Yeah, I'm pointing at the screen like you can follow me. Okay, so if you scroll down a little, so the first thing people would need to understand is there's up to 600 chemicals added to tobacco cigarettes. There's a difference between tobacco smoke and cigarette smoke, okay? And then if you go down a little further, the next point, and this is youth try adult taboos. So like I think it's 73% have watched pornography, right? These are data, this is data from 2018. If I had more time, I'd like to update them all to 2019-20, but time is an issue.
No, this was with the advent of the internet, right? Because, you know, porn was a little bit harder to find when I was a kid.
Yes, yeah, there were magazines back then, yeah.
Liar.
But really, I mean, that's a terrible thing, isn't it? I mean, they're getting images, like really twisted images of what human sexuality is. And nobody's like banning, like taking the color out of porn, right? Nope. And they're messing with harm reduction, and not taking into consideration the positive impact that can have on our smoking population. So anyways, so they experiment with adult taboos. And the thing about cigarette smoke is that it's a numbers game. So if you scroll down to the next shareable, there. So this is loss of autonomy is when you can't say no to the next one. And there's and one of those drop downs there's a HONC scale, HONC. And this is the scale that we use in healthcare to find out if somebody's addicted to tobacco cigarettes. Okay. So if they answer yes to one of those questions, they are losing autonomy. Now, if you go back up to where that shareable is, there's a graph on it. I don't know if you can click it and get it full screen. No. Doesn't look like.
Just a second. I can do this.
We do have.
There you go. So this is a study done of youth losing autonomy, the ability to say no to the cigarette, because that is what is the beginning of addiction, right? So after one or two cigarettes, about over 20% have trouble saying no to the next one. Now, the bottom line there is the amount of cigarettes smoked. Once they're up to 100 cigarettes, and this is in any period of time, okay? Once they've smoked 100 cigarettes, like 5 packs of smokes, 94% are losing their autonomy. This is how smokers are made, because you're not going to find adult people going, oh, I want to be cool and try this out, and it's so disgusting. But teenagers experiment with adult taboos. So it's how many cigarettes they have. You know, the difference between me and a smoker and a non-smoker is that I had those 100 cigarettes. And then you're usually hooked for life, because 52% of smokers try to quit every year, but only 2.5% actually quit long-term until, of course, vaping came along and changed those numbers significantly.
So this is a little off. I mean, you're vaping. We see that you're vaping. Kevin and I both vape. Neither one of us are in the industry. We don't make products or anything or sell products. I'm a healthcare provider just like you. And Kevin is an ex-cab driver and a dad and a husband and all that. But you quit vaping on what level of nicotine?
I started vaping at 24 milligrams.
Okay. I started on 36. Kevin, I think, started probably pretty high too.
18.
So
this was before freebase or before the Dick salts, right?
Yes. I've been vaping for 10 years. Somebody in the chat room just said that he quit 10 years, 9 months, and 10 days ago. So congratulations, wow. Alan Fox.
Alan, can I say hi to Alan, because
say
Alan,
hi to Alan.
I just want to thank you, Alan, because you post so much stuff to our group page and Chrissy Marshall, because she manages it for me. Between the two of you, you've kept that page going while I've been nursing, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
So when I quit, I vaped this a single flavor. Now you got to realize that when I started, there was no vape shops anywhere near me. I had to find things online. And I used it was called Peach Berry Menthol by Delaware Vapor. And I vaped 18 milligram Peach Berry Menthol for one whole year without trying anything else. Wow. Because I liked it, and I was afraid if I didn't like something and I couldn't get this, that I would go back to smoking. Now, where are you at now?
I'm on a pod device with a 1.5 pure nicotine. I tried the salts, and there was the highs and lows like a cigarette. I didn't like them, but I weaned off of nicotine completely. And then we had with a trade show called CVE in Edmonton, and Van Gogh e-liquids. They started the line, and the proceeds went to us. So they only had 3, so I started vaping 3 because I wanted to try the flavors, and sure, yeah, I got addicted again. So I'm weaning down slowly, because I was addicted to nicotine or before I was even in puberty, right? So it's a lifelong addiction. And my mother smoked when pregnant, and I was like you, raised in the 70s. Everybody smoked everywhere.
You're not as old as me, and you're definitely not as old as Kevin.
I was born in the 60s.
She's 21. Leave her alone.
I was thinking she was probably close to mid-20s. I didn't realize that she.
Yeah, no, I never had a husband and kids, so I stayed young. I'm kidding.
Look at Kevin. Kevin has been married, has several husbands. Look how old he looks. So
I just take care of my health.
I am a nicotine advocate. Like, I know that nicotine does beneficial things to me.
You don't know nicotine. Oh, wait a minute.
And Kevin just saw a film talking about all the great things about nicotine. Obviously, I have no desire to go below 12 milligram. Is where I am now. I've tried lower and it didn't work for me. But I'm glad that you have decided not to and have moved past it. But I fully believe and understand that, for me at least, it keeps me where I need to be, like mentally, and obviously psychologically. I have a couple diagnoses that nicotine helps. So I'm glad that. But anyway, flavors. That's where I was ultimately going, with the flavors. So what kind of flavors do you like? You're an adult person.
Yeah. So I started out with a tobacco flavor that was really horrible. But even though the flavor was really bad, it was the ritualistic behavior. I knew I found my solution from the first puff, right? And smokes, cigarettes didn't taste very good either. But then, it wasn't long before I transitioned to fruit flavors. So I think I started with some tobacco fruit, just like cherry tobacco, and then I moved to fruit flavors. And now I'm very much into, here's the frustrating thing: you can't even call it what it's flavored on our on websites and descriptions. You can't even say that it tastes like custard, right? Because anyways, it's just oppressive regulation. So right now I'm vaping a vanilla and a banana custard that V Labs sent me over a liter of juice. So they're out of Edmonton, and they keep me in e-liquid without it costing me anything, which is very kind of them, and I'm very grateful. They also have a VAEP line that all the proceeds come to us as well. So yeah, I really like the dessert flavors.
And Kevin and I are both tobacco vapors.
Are you really?
Yes.
Still.
Wow.
So we are. Well, I mean, like, I used to work in a cigar shop. Like, after my real job, I would go and work in the cigar shop just because I liked cigars.
Cigars are nice.
I liked hanging out in the cigar shop. So, I've always had a love for that. Even when I was a kid and hanging out with like the older guys, the older guys. I'm talking about like the old guys smoking pipes and stuff. I just love the smell of pipe tobacco and stuff. So, and Kevin is just like a plain old like Hangson Chinese tobacco guy. Like, he just likes the most basic tobacco. But we are not typical.
No, only 7% of vapors continue vaping tobacco once they've switched over completely to vaping. Yeah, I think I have a shareable on that.
I went back to tobaccos after a year.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I vaped the same
like tobacco cigarettes or the flavor?
Flavor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it took me a long time to find e-liquid that actually did taste like tobacco and not a bakery flavor in disguise.
Yeah. I know a fella who makes a mojito cigar flavor that it's perfect. I'm just going to make a note to give him a call, and then I'll get your address and I'll get him to send you some, because
I like free stuff.
You wouldn't know the difference. It tastes like like a real cigar. It's lovely.
Yeah, and I'm actually making my own stuff here at home now. So
wow,
I started DIYing and developing and trying to find stuff. And Kevin just recently also started. So all of my stuff are boozes and tobaccos blended together.
that must be fun.
It is. It's not bad. Kevin's wife loves DIY.
She's gone way beyond me. Way beyond me.
Wow. You know what I wonder is how come there aren't any like savory flavors? Like like herbs like basil and sage and
well, I mean, they do have the extracts. They do have the extracts, and
yeah.
If the e-liquid fairy was still in the room, she would say, "Friends don't let friends vape savory." That's one of her. That's one of her things.
Yes, I've never seen it offered anywhere.
There was a crab flavored e-liquid that the company made, and I was at an event with Demetrius, and somebody made him vape a pizza flavored e-liquid.
Huh.
I think DJ LSB like twisted his arm and made him vape it or something, but.
I love crab.
They do exist, but nobody like. Well, this is not really a savory though. One of the weirdest liquids that I've ever seen was a strawberry habanero.
Ooh!
And it was amazing, but it also destroys coils like pretty damn fast.
Wonder what it does to tissue.
Right? That's a lot of capsaicin right there. Victor in the chat room says he made a pickle flavored e-liquid.
Oh, so it'd be sour, like.
And I know a lot of people that drink pickle juice, which is
I've heard of that.
Right, quite disgusting. Yeah. So we've been talking about crabs a lot tonight because of the poor crab smoking a cigarette. Nobody would give him a Juul.
That's shocking.
I sent that to Logan Exhales on Twitter, and he actually tweeted it like a couple days before my video came out, and he's like, "Somebody save this crab and give him a Juul." I just said give him a vape, but
how would he press the button?
Well, no, it's an auto draw. Juul's an auto draw.
Oh, right, it is. Yes, of course. Yeah, that would work then.
Yeah. And Sean Casey in the chat room says that the crab vape was a flavor art invention. Ooh. So let's blame flavor art.
I wouldn't do it. No, I love crabs. I would
blame flavor vape or flavor art. I'm serious now. Flavor art's been good to me. Sean doesn't know it, but he's going to sponsor Smoke Free Radio next year.
Well, don't tell him.
It's actually really cheap, but yeah. So the shareable thing, though, I can tell by looking at what you have. Like you've spent time to make them look nice. You've done the research to be very valuable educational pieces, and I'm kicking myself for not knowing that this existed until Kevin.
Just let him go, Kelly. Just let him keep babbling.
I'm glad my work is useful. Like it's useless if it just sits on the website. Right?
And you know that last week or the week before, a study was released that shows the stupidity of most doctors, and I don't want to say healthcare providers because it was specifically doctors, but 80% of doctors polled, and these are American doctors, by the way. But I imagine that it's probably similar numbers in other countries. 80% of doctors asked about nicotine believed that nicotine is a carcinogen.
Oh, wow. Well, all they got to do is go to my health professional section.
I'm there.
There's a whole section. It's fully referenced.
I'm there right now. See, look, boom. And it kind of disturbs me the amount of... I'm a physical therapist. My prior career, I have a master's degree in forensic anthropology.
Wow, neat.
So I've dug up human remains all over the world, and I'm fairly knowledgeable about how to put them back together and how everything works. Even before I went back to school for, a health career, I knew that cancer was not caused by nicotine, which annoys the fucking shit out of me. I am not a fucking doctor. Hold it up there. And I know more than them about drugs and medicine and how the body reacts to certain things than these doctors do.
Yeah.
What kind of doctors are they, Patrick?
Fucking doctors.
You gotta see things from their perspective, though. So throughout our formal education, and you would know this as a PT, we are trained to trust authority. And then once you're in the system, the information comes through what we would call intranet. So this is a database that's for the medical professionals within the system. We're trained to go to health authorities like FDA, CDC, or Health Canada, or WHO. We're trained to go to nonprofits that are health related. So with smoking, the three most common diseases that smoking causes is cancer, lung disease, respiratory illnesses, and cardiovascular disease, right? So with that, and then we look at those nonprofits like the Lung Association, the Heart Association, Heart and Stroke Foundation, or the Cancer Society. And they're all saying the same false narrative about vaping, that it's unsafe, and they really stress the youth uptake without saying that youth smoking rates are dropping like crazy, like unprecedented drops, but they don't even know that, because the information comes from, it's like a pyramid. The information comes from up here. WHO says this is what it is, and then the countries follow suit and disseminate that down to the public and the health professionals. So health professionals are very busy people. We work long, hard shifts. The last thing I want to do on my days off is do research, okay? And I've been trained to trust my sources. So if you come along and say, well, look, here's a stack of studies, and I know this subject better than you do, what you are asking that health professional to do is to give up the security that they have, that they've been trained, that their sources of information are accurate, okay? So that means that if I realize that, say, Health Canada is not telling the full information about vaping. Now, when I want to look up information for a patient just came in to emerge and they have Guillain-Barré syndrome, and they're in an emergent situation, and I have to learn everything I can about that in as quick a period of time, now I can't go to my sources because I know that they lied about, or they've deceived, or they've not told the whole truth about something else. They've implanted a false narrative. So you're not only asking a health professional to learn new information, you're asking them to give away the security they have for their sources of information that they trust.
It's a great
right?
perspective.
That's true.
So then are you also trained not to question it as a professional? I mean, you're literally not going to question them because this is how we have to do it no matter what. Well, but you did. So
but you've already addressed that question. You've already addressed that question.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean, there are health professionals who know the truth about vaping, but I know from being in the system that you will be shunned. Yeah. And that you'll get this awkward silence. Oh, she's talking about vaping again. She's talking about harm reduction. Right? Like it's a crime. But that's because we are under the control of our regulatory bodies and of our employer. And if you don't toe the line, if you are not an obedient order follower, you can say goodbye to your check and maybe your career. Right. So they're held hostage. Right? So you don't question authority, you keep your head down, you do the best you can for your patients and get through your shift. Right? Yeah. So I developed that health professional section. It's all written in our medical esoteric language. It's the only section on the website that isn't in conversational English. And I think like 90% of the sentences are referenced because this is a difficult thing to explain to a health professional. But I'll tell you something, because I have faith that the people in the systems, the people that work for Health Canada, FDA, the people that are in the Canadian Cancer Society, that are in healthcare, that all these health-related agencies, I believe the vast majority of the people that work in those agencies are good people, and they think they're doing what's right. They just blindly trust authority, and that's the only way the system can work. You can't say, hold on a minute, I know you can't breathe, but I'm going to have to read 50 studies on Guillain-Barré syndrome so I can figure out what drugs I can't give you, right? You have to trust your sources, right. Okay? But if, like, VAEP is a nonprofit, we can advertise in doctors' magazines, nurses' magazines. We can take out billboards and radio ads. We can do everything other nonprofits can and drive traffic back to our website where people can easily learn. Okay? Mm-hmm. So if we are able to educate enough of those health professionals, two things are going to happen. One, they're going to start prescribing vaping to their smoking patients. And two, there will be outrage. Mm-hmm. There will be outrage, because as a health professional, to understand that your trusted source has caused you to harm your patient, to encourage them to continue, inhaling the most deadly form of nicotine in the world, that there has been a solution for smokers for like a decade. Yep. They would be outraged. And you would have, like in Canada, there's 300,000 nurses and 60,000 physicians. If they became aware that they were being deceived about tobacco harm reduction, change would happen. Mm-hmm. It would happen, because we've been played the fool, and most of us care a great deal about our patients. Right. And that would just tear us apart inside. You would see movement. Like huge movement. And nurses are the most trusted profession in Canada, according to surveys in 2013 and 16, I think. So this would be the population to really target for education.
I love nurses. I hate doctors. So there you go.
Well, they're good doctors.
I love one nurse. I have to, or she'll stab me in my sleep.
I have to. I'm glad she's not listening.
She might
be. She could be right on the other side of the Chinese, the Japanese wave back there. You never know. But I did find something that just happened recently. So this is a Canadian thing. So this new study was just released, and it says that heating in vaping devices is what causes injury. So nicotine, THC, or vitamin E oil may not be the primary factor in e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury. And there's a big old ad right there that's really driving me crazy.
I'm just going to hold up the drink sign. I'm not even going to say fuck.
Well, the vapor is much cooler than cigarette smoke and the smoke from a joint. So...
Well, it actually, I mean, it's a very long thing here, but
they're very creative in trying to prove their ideology. Very creative.
CAGR.
And well funded. I don't know.
CAGR. So anyway, you go through here. It's really long. It talks about the all sorts of crap essentially.
Can you send that link to me?
I will.
Please. In Messenger, I appreciate that.
There's a second piece. I'll send it to you in Messenger in a minute. Here.
Thank you.
I got too many windows open, and the new layout for Facebook really is driving me up the wall. But
I'm moving to MeWe. I cannot stand the censorship. There's no free speech on that platform anymore. But you know what I do find useful is so many things I've shared that are truthful get censored. So now if I see something censored, I automatically think that they weeded out the truth for me. Like literally. It's horrible. I can't stand it.
Yeah. So it says here, early results in a recent experimental vaping study, and there's all sorts of hot links through here, so have shown significant lung injury from e-cigarette devices with nickel chromium alloy heating elements. Who Who in the fuck is vaping with? Well, I guess nichrome. That's what that is, nichrome. But nobody is using, and very few people are using nichrome.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if governments were putting our resources into, instead of trying to scare smokers away from harm reduction, if they were taking those same millions of dollars in massive manpower to investigate vaping and analyze it even further, we could probably bring it from 95% safer to 97% safer. That's what they should be doing with our tax dollars, is making this even safer, right? But instead they're spending their time and resources doing this.
Okay, so anyway, in response to that piece about the heated vaping, I found another piece, which is a retort or a reply from the Canadian Vaping Association about the faulty study linking vaping to lung injury.
Oh, that's great.
And this was they actually paid for a press release to get this out. So and this is I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat room as well, because we're not going to sit here and read all the pieces, but it is nice to see a responsive, so anyway, this is directly from the lung injury occurred without nicotine, THC, or vitamin E additives, and may have been related to higher wattage of power settings with the electronic cigarette devices, yada, 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 and nichrome wire. And I'll send you the link to that in the same, so that you guys, you might be able to find a shareable in there somewhere.
Oh, probably, but it's more an issue of time. I have to get back to nursing now, and I do very little with VAEP of anything when I nurse, because I have done that, and the exhaustion compromised my ability to practice safely. So I take time off nursing, and I donate hundreds of more hours to this project, and then I go back to nursing. So it's getting to that point financially where I have to move forward with making money.
Well, that is important if you want to not starve to death and you want to have a roof over your head.
Well, last year I donated 2,600 hours to VAEP, and my income was zero. Nothing. I work 50 hours a week on this project. Yeah, I care a great deal about helping people learn the truth, but I can't sacrifice my well-being.
So Tom in the chat room is asking if he can print out your downloadable shareables and have them laminated for his minor advocacy efforts.
Well, all of our resources are free and online. You don't need my permission.
Just don't
Except for
change
what
them.
we're working on next, because we're trying to figure out how to monetize this so that I can work full time on it. And this is what I've managed to do in my own time. You can't imagine what I could do if I was being paid, right? So we're looking at ways to monetize the project. Over the last 4.5 years, we've really created a great deal of content, and we've proven our dedication to helping people learn. We have great credibility. And I think it's at that point where it's monetizable. So that's our next hope, right? And then I can do some real good, because it's one thing to create resources. It's another thing entirely to advocate. So that would be me engaging with community leaders like Lions Clubs and social clubs and Rotary and the Legion, whoever will listen to me, and then engaging with nursing agencies and harm reduction agencies and start bringing them on side with education. Yeah. Of course, more shareables.
More shareables.
And videos. For each one of those pages on the Valley section, I want to do little videos at the top of them all on each subject, very short. But while people don't know what I've been working on, I have over 150 slides for presentations. So I'm going to translate those into videos as well, because people learn well through videos. And so I want to create mediums that engage people into learning. But it's a time issue, right?
Hey, I'll give you a free idea. If you could figure out a way to compile all of that info into a an ebook, an electronic book. You could, not the videos, but the shareable infographics. Your
like the Move one.
But you can actually put it on Amazon and sell it for $5 a piece.
Yep.
Oh wow! What a clever idea.
I mean, people can then download it into a tablet or onto their laptop or whatever, and that could be a way to make $5 a download. And I'd probably buy it for $5. You never know. I actually bought a graphic novel about smoking. That's an actual reference. It's actually a nonfiction book about smoking, but they did it in a graphic format. It's like a 150-page graphic novel about smoking and about the evil things that cigarette companies did.
Oh, that would be interesting to see. I could use that as a template.
Yeah,
that's a clever idea.
Yeah, I mean, just putting it on putting it somewhere and then telling people, hey, if you want this and you want to support my organization, we have it up on Amazon for $4.99. Go download it.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I love trying new mediums because you never know what's going to work for people, and digital is always good. And I mean, I've learned a lot about creating content in a digital form. We do have on our homepage there's a map there. Mm-hmm. So we advertise businesses on our homepage, and when we run ads or whatever, we always drive traffic back to our homepage. So vape shops predominantly are what are on there, and there you go. There's the VAEP map. So each one of those pins, and it's really important that people understand, those pins are the reason that VAEP actually exists, because they're paying to keep the lights on. And one of those pins is $30 Canadian a month, or about $22 American a month. So they're very inexpensive. And how many places can you advertise, right? And since we're driving traffic to our homepage, that's where hopefully once somebody's educated, they'll look up a shop that supports our project.
Mm-hmm. Who is this in Texas? Vapescape. Oh, that's in New Mexico.
Yeah, that was I think the first one in the U.S.
So Mark Sliss needs to be over here in Michigan. He's in the chat room.
He's so close to Canada.
He is.
I don't see anybody in Michigan, Mark Sliss. Just saying. I can twist a couple arms in the chat room.
I bet he's got a really good British accent too.
There's a couple shop owners in here.
Well, I mean, we don't have to twist arms.
We could get a Son of Liberty tab down here. I don't have a vape shop, but $22.
Well, do you have another business? Because we can advertise any business.
I don't have any businesses.
No.
It's none of my business. I don't have businesses. So Mark says, "Where's his pin?" Because he says that he should be on there. You need to write another check, Mark.
He's got a lot of information too.
Mark is not a dummy.
Yeah,
he's
I've had
actually
whole conversations with Mark.
Mark, you can just say yes or no. Did you know about her site at all? Because part of what we do, in my opinion, as consumers, Patrick and I, are tell you where to go and what to do, even though we understand you have liberty and freedom to choose. So now you can choose to go to VAEP. What is it?
Yes.
Vape World.
Every time I see that, it's just, sometimes when I'm on my phone and I'm typing, sometimes my thumb hits the wrong button and I type vape, VAP or VAEP, and then I have to fix it Like that's making my OCD go off a little bit.
Well, I do have dyslexia. So it's an appropriate acronym for my project.
See, I'm diagnosed OCD. I'm diagnosed ADD and bipolar. So I already have enough problems.
I think OCD is an advantage, really, because
in healthcare it is.
If you give it something to work on, it'll nail it, right? But if you don't occupy your OCD, it'll create havoc in your life, right? So give it projects. That's what I do.
So that's why I'm excellent when it comes to infection control at work.
I guess.
But yeah, I mean,
Mark said yes and did his. Well, he said prescription, but subscriptions expire.
Yeah, there's 27 pins on the map that subscriptions have are in default. But honestly, I just don't have time to call them even. I have to prioritize what I can do with my time. And over the last couple months, we've been working on a project. You don't have access to this information.
We should go international with this VAEP thing.
It could be, yeah, easily.
We should go international and get some Aussies and some New Zealanders on there.
But we'd have to shrink that map way back. But I could easily open up a second homepage for Australia. Just change these suffix, right?
But then you would have to change some of your stats. But Australia is the next beachhead.
Beachhead, what does that mean?
Well, that's where the next big battle for vaping is going to be.
And you know what? And authority will run it over as long as their population is misinformed. As a matter of fact, they will have the support of the public and health professionals, just like in North America, as long as they stay misinformed.
Look at California. They actually got, the vape companies and the big tobacco people got together. They circled, put a petition out, got everything ready so that the government didn't make the decision, that the voters made the decision. It was it was a vote initiative. And the reason California and specifically like San Francisco, that's where the flavor ban first happened.
I have a shareable on that.
The tobacco companies and the vape companies spent millions of dollars getting this petition done so that it would happen as a voter initiative. And the voters voted for it because they're
they did.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's awesome.
So the voters voted to ban flavors.
Oh, they banned it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's because they don't understand.
Because
they don't know the truth. It's all about save the children when really children aren't smoking. I have a shareable on that too. How much has dropped between 2018 and 19? Youth vaping or smoking dropped 50%. We've never seen that in history, but the public doesn't know this. So, but what if here's can I? Because I'm dying to tell you, because nobody knows about it.
You can make all sorts of announcements on the show.
Okay. So, like, my idea had always been to circumvent authority and circumvent media because they're dictating a false narrative. And we have proof of this because in the UK, the scientific community reviewed the evidence in 2014 before the false narrative got to them. And there you have a geographical area where vaping is promoted, right? So that's an indication that the science is accurate, right? And it is available, okay? But how can we compete with health authorities and media and, health professionals and the public that they're all misinformed, right? Well, we have an advantage, or the vaping industry has a great advantage, and I think it's underutilized. So you have vape shops and e-liquid manufacturers all over the map. They're all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what if we supplied those shops with posters point of sale postcards, business cards, stickers, and 8.5 by 11s to put up in billboards all around your neighborhood. Okay, then online resources. We send you a banner with your logo on it, and social media posts. And every quarter we focus on one issue. So how humans work is that when they see something in their environment, they'll notice it. If they see something in their environment several times, they'll investigate it, right? That's kind of like, with corporate marketing, you have to show your logo 7 times before they buy, right? So what if there's a woman in the community, she hates vaping, her son vapes, he can't convince her, right? She won't go to VAEP, nothing, right? She's walking by a vape shop and she sees this poster with this image, right? We'll choose a valley, right? And there's a marijuana leaf and there's a QR code and our VAEP world on it and a beautiful color image and some text. And she sees this image. And then she goes home and there's a postcard that her son got at point of sale. The same image, the same QR code with the same title. And then she goes to her post office and there's an 8.5 by 11 put on the bulletin board, same image. Post, QR code, right? She goes on to Facebook and a video, a commercial comes through. Same images, same message. And then she sees a post on social media, same image, same message. She's going to look at it because it's in her environment. Okay? So what if we have a shop and that covers the geographical area with Facebook ads and Facebook advertising, with printed materials, with stickers on somebody's cell phone, okay? And then the next shop, and then the next shop. And before you know it, we've covered the whole continent. And we'll just focus on one thing, a valley, for a quarter. And then the next quarter, we focus on basic info. And then the next quarter, youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
If the thing about that is that costs money.
Well, that's what we do, and then we print things, and I make digital stuff, and we're working on pricing right now. But we're going to be launching this very shortly, and it's a way to empower the community and the industry to disseminate information around official narratives and media. And we just infiltrate the population through like guerrilla marketing tactics. Drive traffic back to that website. Get them to learn. They'll share it with others. It's a different approach. It's actually addressing the real issue. The real issue is misinformation. Now I've got a website with hundreds of resources on it that make it easy for people to learn.
Well, let's hope, like I said, the whole point, one of the points is, and I want everybody that's listening, that's, if you got Twitter, you need to be following VAEP World. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. That's where Kevin and I spend most of our time now. That's one of the reasons why I was super excited to be able to broadcast on Twitter now. So the show is on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, you need to be on Twitter. But, I look and, I'm kind of sad that you only have 622 followers with all this amazing information that you have available on your website. People need to be following you. Yeah. And, the website is beautiful. The website is great. And I know that this is what'd you say, the 4th iteration?
6th revision.
Sixth
I mean, I never wanted to learn web design, believe me. This was kicking and screaming. Luke Marshall, who's on our team, he put up with a lot of abuse of me learning how to do web design. I thought that people in the vaping community would get behind this and volunteer their time and help with their skills, but I ended up having to learn everything myself.
You just got 2 new followers.
Great.
But yeah, I mean, it embarrassed me that when Kevin said we need to get Kellie Ann on the show. And I'm like, who?
Well, I've been busy working in the background, right? So now I probably will do more, engagement.
Well, I mean, even since you're going back to work and you won't have time to create new.
Who knows? There might be 100 new pins on the map tomorrow because of your show, and then I can push that back a bit. Right?
Well, but that might be your passion. That might be something that I will never. I mean, I could win the lottery tomorrow, and I will not change I will not quit my job because I love what I do. I may not work as many hours, but I'm still going to work.
I think it's obvious that my real passion is informed decision making, and that's a big part of what I do as a nurse. Actually, I'm known for educating my colleagues, my patients, their visitors. I really believe in empowering people with knowledge, and I love reading studies. Me and my vice chair, Mark, we're total geeks, and we love to read studies.
So the is your website mobile compatible?
Yep. You bet.
She answered that loudly and quickly.
Aren't you embarrassed that you had to ask that question?
hey, my website, the Smoke Free Radio website is not been updated in 2 years, so I don't even want to look at that because I don't do web design. We have like an 80-year-old guy that did our web page. Jake Jacobson did our web page, and he's like 1 billion years old. So
I love Jake.
That's embarrassing that he knows web design and I don't.
It's really user friendly now. The interfaces like Wix, I think people it's easy to do. But I mean, when you're passionate about something, and I'm very passionate about people knowing the truth. It's amazing how many hours you can dedicate and how much sacrifice you'll make, because it's an ethical issue for me. And I think this is a fundamental problem in society. I remember a time when the media would tattletale on authority, not repeat the narrative, right? So I remember a time where people were well informed. And I think until people are truly, and honestly, with the current, global outbreak thing going on, I think a lot of people are now questioning authority. I think this is the perfect time to teach them about vaping. I really do. I think they're primed.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think it helps us actually that nobody trusts the WHO anymore.
It does help us.
The CDC has lost their credibility. That FDA coming out every day talking about a different timeline for when this vaccine is going to be available. A lot of these people have lost their credibility. Obviously, the Surgeon General never had any credibility. Kevin and I have we've destroyed him so many times on Twitter that piece of shit motherfucker blocked me.
That's better.
He blocked me.
Well,
on his private, not the actual official Surgeon General.
But
he either blocked or muted me.
Wow.
Because I embarrassed him by pulling his pants down. Like I got him to say, no, we're never going to be testing these Valley people for drugs.
No.
Because then they would never trust their doctors. And I'm like, dude, I never told you to sneakily do it.
Sneakily.
No, he said surreptitiously or something like that. He used clandestine or something. I'm like, I didn't tell you to sneak around and do it. I told you to walk in there and say, hey, you know what? You're in the emergency room. There's something wrong with you. We're going to draw some blood and see what's in there.
You just need a urine test.
Or even a urine test.
Exactly.
Yep. And we got to take one for labs. So you just
do it. How freaking difficult is it to get a urine test?
Yeah, but they did. The FDA did test the lung biopsies, and several states did as well.
After the fact.
He was arguing that they wouldn't
months
be able
after the fact. They took the samples, froze them.
Oh, wow.
The Surgeon General, even in his guidance, told the medical practitioners, collect what samples that you can, and send them to us.
And then they just sat on it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
So
what was the point of all that?
specifically take whatever samples you can get from the patient. If the patient will give you what they were vaping, get that and send
those were analyzed too.
After the fact, like months later.
Okay, I didn't realize there was a lag in time.
Yes, no, they sat on
but
it.
Why? That's so concerning. Why would you not do labs? I mean, you've tested millions of healthy people for, the latest thing. Why wouldn't you test some very severe respiratory illnesses? Why wouldn't you investigate thoroughly? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It doesn't make any sense. And in Canada, they didn't. And that's why on their vaping lung illnesses page, they mentioned nicotine 5 times and THC cartridges and vitamin E acetate once.
The timeline.
I mean, it's not hard to do. It's a blood draw or it's a urine, and it's not hard to do a tox screening. It's not.
No. We actually have pre-made cups now. You just pee in it, it changes color.
Oh, wow. That's fancy.
Like when you go for an employment screening now, the HR director gives you a special cup. You go pee in it, shake it up, and it tells them what you have in your body based on what color it turns.
Well, that's invasion of privacy, I think. But and what do you do in the states where cannabis is legal?
Cannabis may be legal, but they don't have to hire you.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. They don't have to hire you. See, the thing is I work in healthcare. Even if marijuana was legal in Texas, if I get a DUI, I lose my license.
Wow.
Now, I'm gonna say something bad about nurses, though. In the hospital where my wife worked, a nurse stole 14 pre-measured morphine injections. The kind that are pre-measured. Yeah. You just break the tip off and stab it.
Yeah, ampules.
14 of them, gave them self-administered all 14. My wife said, there's blood on your scrubs right there. And come to find out, she had injected herself.
With all 14?
Yes.
That would be 140 milligrams.
Yes.
Oh, then I'm surprised she was breathing. She has a hardcore addiction.
Yes.
But you know what? That's not unusual.
And no, this is not this is the best part. When it was reported to the state, they censured her and made her take drug counseling.
Yeah,
didn't lose her license. Nothing.
You won't hear either.
I get a DUI. I lose my fucking license.
Wow,
one DUI.
That's crazy.
And my license renewal is 4 times the cost of hers. And
what?
She makes twice as much money as me.
Oh. You have a bad regulatory body.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
So yeah, nurses, they're not held to the same level of stuff as we are. We actually had a nurse that was found to be she was charged with fraud and didn't lose her license or anything. And I'm like, son of a, I should have been a nurse.
Well, one of the contributing factors may be that there's a global shortage of nurses.
Well, no, this was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Was a global shortage of nurses 3 or 4 years ago.
I mean, my wife is not even from the States. She's from the Philippines because we have such a shortage of nurses here.
Oh, I work with the best nurses are from the Philippines. Yeah, I love them. Yeah, really, really hardworking and very competent. They're well trained.
And they're very respectful to their patients
and they're always happy. I don't know. If that,
maybe it works.
In that culture, they just seem to be able to roll with it instead of freaking out. I can't generalize that everyone's like that, but the culture seems to foster to look on the bright side, to be happy. I like working with them. We have a lot of them in Canada.
She sleeps with a machete under her pillow, so I don't.
Oh my!
I don't want anybody to think that
she's married to you.
I do sleep with a 44 Magnum under my pillow. So
you do not.
Yeah, he probably does.
Why would you do that? What if it goes off?
Because we can.
This is Texas.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah, okay.
In my sleep, I am still the height of gun safety.
You're allowed to carry them around in public, aren't you?
No, this is not an open carry state. We have concealed carry.
What?
Like you hide it? Nobody knows you have it?
No, certain places in Texas are open carry, but not every place.
Okay.
So what's concealed carry?
I actually take a test and pass a background check and do all the stuff necessary to be given a license to carry a firearm concealed on my body.
Yeah, but like to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's just so foreign to me as a Canadian.
But you know, crime is here in states that have the least restrictive gun laws, we have the lowest crime rates.
Least restrictive. Well, I guess if you don't know,
everybody's
could be armed,
polite.
right?
Everybody's polite in an armed society.
No road rage here.
Except Canada's one of those weird places where everybody's polite anyway.
Right.
Yes, and we have a lot of firearms, except that we hunt up here.
Except in Quebec.
I'm not going to comment on that. I've traveled through Quebec, and if you try to speak French, they're very kind to you, and it's a beautiful city, and boy, they can cook. Yes.
Well, I was raised in New Orleans, which is weird because it's a French colony.
Yes. Yeah.
But it is the exact opposite of Quebec.
Well, it's a much different place.
They got the fun French side, and the Quebecers got the more rude. French
I
side.
can't comment on that, but I'd sure like to go to New Orleans. It's warm down there.
It is. It's not warm. It's hot.
Oh, that'd be great. It's
hot.
cold here.
And I'm even further south here.
Texas.
I'm only about an hour and 30 minutes away from Mexico.
Wow.
So it's hot.
So you'd be like on vacation all the time.
I live on the Gulf of Mexico, so my office looks right out at the Gulf. At the Gulf.
So you can swim in the ocean all year round.
Not in the middle of winter. It still gets cold.
Okay. Do you get?
It still gets. We have like every couple of years, we actually get down to the 30. We're like below freezing, but we're all in the wintertime. We're actually still, in the 40s. And
I'm Celsius, so I don't know really what 40s means. I know room temperature is about 72. And fever's around 100.
Well, yeah, that's about right. But
freezing, it can get to over 100 degrees in Texas, can't it?
100. I think our highest temperature this year was 114.
Do you acclimatize to that and you just roll with it, or does it hurt?
Oh no, it hurts. It's like 85% humidity.
I'm on fire.
So you're sweaty, and even if you're not sweaty, you're still wet because the air itself is wet.
And they call me a bot.
So, but anyway, back to vaping stuff.
Did you see what Victor said?
Oh, Victor's going to put a pin in Indiana, is what he said.
Oh, that'd be great. I don't think we have one in Indiana.
So, I know that we typically go very long, Kelly.
How long have we been on?
An hour and 54 minutes.
Okay.
So, we're not going to go anywhere, and you don't have to go anywhere. But we still jibber jabber for another half an hour or so. If you have a half an hour.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation.
We typically, and I haven't even started drinking yet, so I've been very good. I've been a very good boy.
That's twice.
But I Kevin, did you see the Joe Jurgensen campaign piece?
I saw it via your reply to Greg's.
So one of the things that people don't know, I mean, a lot of people may not know, but people that watch our show know because we've talked about it on the show. There's more than just two people running for the presidency. I mean, Trump and Biden get all of the traction, but Joe Jorgensen is the libertarian candidate. She responds to me all the time on Twitter. She actually has engaged with the vapors. And I did kind of describe to you what a libertarian was prior, Kelly. But I'm going to show, she has a new campaign video out. So I'm going to slap it in here and let everybody see it that hasn't already seen it. Because I think vapors will like it. And we're represented.
That's nice.
So her VP candidate, actually, I've been talking to her for about 3 months trying to get her on this show. And her people have agreed, but we just haven't figured out when it's going to happen. But the VP candidate already appeared on the Vaping Legion Network show. So they're really wanting to engage with us because, there's some numbers out there that show there's a couple million of us, and we're looking for somebody to throw our support to. So this is about victimless crimes. This is what this piece is called. So here, I'm going to throw it in here and pay attention. It's about 2 minutes long.
The president says he wants to wage a war on drugs, but if that's true, what we need is another D-Day, not another Vietnam.
Before you got in this program, did you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not? What do you think, huh?
Half of the total prison population of the world are allegedly in jail for non-violent drug-related purposes.
Nicotine, alcohol, good drugs. Coincidentally, tax drugs. Now, where's my commercial?
They did everything they could to keep Tulsi Gabbard off that debate stage because they didn't want to hear what she had to say.
Senator Harris put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
I am not in favor of legalization.
We need more prisons.
Your government will continue to act aggressively.
Biden has made it a death penalty offense for everything but jaywalking.
America's public enemy number one is drug abuse.
After all, there's a lot of money in this.
If we don't get tough on the drug dealers, we're wasting our time. And that toughness includes the death penalty.
It's okay to drink your drug. We meant those other drugs, those untaxed drugs.
I will federally decriminalize all drugs, letting consensual adult activities become safer and destigmatized, allowing the true victims to be recognized so they can be given the help they need. This is your life. You can make your own decisions better than somebody out in Washington.
When we end the war on drugs and free its victims from their cages, it will be because of you.
Salvage lives, not throw them away. We would not see all of the people who are locked up for simple possession, for simple use. If there is no victim, there is no crime. I'm Joe Jorgensen, and I approve this message.
Wow. I
So-
vote for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple pieces in there that show people vaping, and I've never seen. I mean, I've seen THC vaping devices, and the ones that were shown on that video were not THC video or
too much
vaping
vapor.
devices. So, and she's engaged with us on Twitter and said, if it was up to me, we would get rid of the FDA so that you could vape without any restraint, without any government, stopping you. So
should be regulated though.
It definitely should be regulated.
Yeah, for safety.
There should be product safety standards.
But I think the industry's already done that on their own, haven't they?
Exactly. Well,
right?
No. They're still,
for the most part. I mean, people aren't dropping dead from vaping. nicotine.
No. I think what it is a lot of these guys went and spent tons and tons and tons of dollars building labs to surpass any reasonable level. I mean, there's guys out there that have ISO level 7 labs.
Yeah.
And you're like, you probably could have got away with like a 1 or a 2 even, some of the, and yes, Bill Hicks is in the video. Bill Hicks was a comedian
I know
that
who
was
he
all
is.
about freedom and stuff.
And like Carlson, what's his name? Carlson. He's another comedian that was really good for that political.
Carlin, George Carlin.
George Carlin.
George Carlin. Yeah. Really like his work.
But yeah, I mean, I love that video, and I like the idea that somebody else is running. What is sad for me, at least, is that we had a debate last week, and the only people that got to be there were the two big assholes.
Yeah.
And the two big embarrassments to the country. There are literally, I believe, 4 candidates that are on the ballot in all 50 American states, and only 2 of them were allowed to be on the debate stage.
Well, maybe 2 of them have a similar commonality amongst them. These independents.
I mean, the Green Party candidate is completely different than the Libertarian candidate. And neither one of the two old guys that were on that screen were in any way, shape, or form representative of most of the country.
Well, I really appreciated in that commercial that she's offering actual solutions. Drug addiction, and it's very well known if you read the literature. These are people that 9 times out of 10 come from some traumatic background. They are victims, and then we treat them like criminals.
And we do that. We stigmatize illness.
Yeah, if you look at Portugal, what they did, that's the model for the world. When they decriminalized drugs and started helping addicts instead of harming people that are already broken, you go in to get your fix, there'd be a nurse there. She'd tell you about options for treatment. They'd make sure that you're not getting Hep C and HIV. They were given support. And they had to, after a few years, they had to close some prisons down. Their rates dropped to the lowest of addiction, dropped to the lowest in Europe, probably the world, because they took a compassionate approach, right? Instead of a war. A war on who? A war on the people that are already broken, that are trying to escape reality because their lives are so screwed up. So we just make it worse for them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I think, with the U.S., there's a lot of history of war, and maybe that's kind of the culture of how you address things is to, have a war with it. Where another way could be, why don't we fix it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We used to be problem solvers, but we don't tend to do that as much anymore. It is an embarrassment, though. I mean, obviously, I'm sick and tired of the degrading language. I mean, we call people addicts, and that word no longer has any beneficial meaning. The word addicts it just makes people feel a certain way. And when somebody that doesn't have any problems is referring to somebody, well, he's an addict. It just has a negative connotation.
Like
instead of saying, it just feels bad. And we use this negative language in reference to people that have a problem or have an illness, and we do this across the board. I mean, we stigmatize behavior, and we use words that are maybe at one point had some sort of beneficial connotation, and just over time, junkie, like I said, addict, smackhead, drunk,
crackhead,
alcoholic, those words hurt. And instead of saying that they're chemically dependent, or instead of saying that they're drug users, or instead of saying people that smoke,
self-medicating,
even that, instead of saying the word, instead of referring to smokers as people that smoke, we call them smokers,
right?
And smokers is not good. Smokers has negative connotations now. I mean, since very few people in my day-to-day smoke, but when you say, oh, well, he's a smoker, the smokers need to go over there. You stay over there.
You have to differentiate.
You're other now.
Yeah.
There's really a shame-based identity with that sort of treatment by society too. But I watched a documentary recently on thalidomide, and they had this editor of a paper had taken upon himself to create awareness, so create a campaign about thalidomide victims, and he showed pictures of these children with no arms and legs, and the public's response was very critical towards him, that we don't need to see that sort of thing. That's not appropriate for my newspaper. But he kept at it, and eventually he turned the public onto helping these people. But he had to persist past their prejudices and past their discomfort to keep sharing the same message. These are victims. They need to be compensated. We can't allow, pharmaceutical companies to get away with this sort of thing. Just kept at it. And eventually, look at gays. In the 80s, there was fag bashing in Canada. They would beat people up because they were gay.
Not just in Canada.
Right? And now they can get married. So when we have stigma, again, it's a compassionate approach, and the solution is education. It seems that a lot of our problems in the world is really education is the solution. The challenge is getting the information to the people.
Yolande says something important in the room, and I throw it on screen. She says, hence the argument, just swapping one addiction for another. When we say that people are vaping instead of smoking, now, you're just swapping one addiction for another.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
She's a really smart person, that Yolanda Jeffers there. She's pretty smart. So yeah, and we already talk about fear words. People don't realize the power of words, but we talked about, anytime you read an article or you see somebody on TV talking about vaping, they use the word chemicals. They use the word toxins. They use those words are scary. They
epidemic.
We know FDA held a focus group to decide what language to use when talking about this youth epidemic.
To create a perception. Like, that is using their funds to be manipulative. When their funds should be used for benefiting the population and improving population health outcomes. It's like Health Canada did a big campaign on youth and vaping. And I did a whole page on it. It's in their youth section. And I just kept thinking millions and millions of my tax dollars, our tax dollars, are being used to do a huge multi-million-dollar education campaign to scare smokers away from harm reduction. Like, this is not appropriate usage of funds, right? So I hear your frustration.
Yeah. That it is annoying to me that they're using American tax dollars to kill Americans.
Agreed.
Or Canadian tax dollars to kill Canadians.
But don't you have the MSA thing, right?
Oh yeah,
that Master Settlement Agreement.
Yeah.
Like I think, because I linked the new page I did for the U.S. It links to our government. Canadian government started selling THC cartridges during the Valley outbreak, right? Well, I wonder why they were pressing it. Right? So I was thinking, instead of that page linking to that, the American page should link to maybe a section on MSA. Is that because I want to show somehow that, like in Canada, the U.S., there's a conflict of interest between the governance of vape products and what the other side is, what their motive is, right? So besides, pharmaceutical contributions. But the MSA, there's a bigger kind of conflict of interest there besides that?
Well, what does a pack of cigarettes cost in Canada?
I think they're up to like $20.
So, even here with MSA payments, American cigarettes average is nowhere near that. I believe the average in the United States, obviously in New York and places in California, they're pretty pricey. But by and large, because cigarettes cost different prices in different states, because each state Each state has a different tax percentage, but the MSA money comes directly out of the sales in that state of that product
from smokers.
So I had a show. I had Paul and the Vaping Bogan, and we were talking about we did an Australian show because they're in deep shit. And I know that in Australia, a pack of cigarettes is like 25 or 30 or something. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Now it is Australian dollars, so they're not really that. I mean, they're tiny dollars, but because their dollar's really low right now. But
is it? Oh.
Yeah, monetarily, they're I think it's like 60 cents or 70 cents to $1 American dollar.
Where we sent.
So yeah, American dollars. Hey, Mark, and all of you people that are going to be pins on the vape.
It's only $22 a month.
Canadian or American?
American. It's $30 Canadian.
So that's you're actually getting $30 worth of benefit out of a $22 donation. So the thing about the MSA numbers are obviously those numbers are down anyway. So the motivation is that when the MSA was originally signed, a lot of these states took estimates of how much money they would be getting tomorrow,
and they issued bonds.
They took out bonds on future payments based on today's numbers. Well, since over the last 20 years, cigarette sales have declined significantly. Mm-hmm. They're not getting as much money as they were.
They spent it too.
And those bonds are coming due or have come due, and they've had to either refinance, which many had to do, or they would default. So that is your motivation, is the fact that there's been a decline in cigarette sales, and that monetary flow has choked off significantly compared to what they expected it to be.
And I looked at I have it in my stack of studies that I'd like to do learning tools on, and there was a breakdown of how they spent that money. And per state, and very little of it went to tobacco control.
No state.
It was. I don't know why people didn't go to jail. Like, it was earmarked for something.
No, it isn't.
It was, though. That was the whole premise behind it.
The Master Settlement Agreement does not in any way, shape, or form instruct the states on where to spend the money.
Because I looked it up today, because I put it in their shareables that I did for US, and it said it was for that, but maybe it wasn't in the actual agreement.
It's vaguely worded. That is the intention,
right,
of filing these lawsuits. So the thing is the 46 states sued the tobacco companies.
Yeah.
This is a settlement agreement. This is not a law. This is a legal document between the states and the tobacco companies.
Well, it sounds like you know a lot about it. If you could send me the resources, I could make a page for you.
So there's nothing obviously in like the preamble it says, well, due to the fact that there's an increase in medical costs, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But nowhere in the agreement does the state agree to a certain percentage.
That's so sneaky, eh? That's surreptitious.
Now, and here's the thing: is the 46 attorney generals that negotiated this agreement, they got payments for the National Attorney Generals Association for being the litigators. They got the litigators portion. That's something that we overlook, is that the attorneys that actually litigated this got a percentage of the Master Settlement Agreement.
They got paid.
Then Legacy, which is a Robert Wood Johnson organization, Johnson & Johnson, they got money to form the Truth Initiative, and a few other health organizations all got cuts of that money for a certain number of years, which those payments have all phased out. So all of the money now goes to the states.
Into their general treasury? Into their general treasury?
Into the general fund is what it's called.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So every year, Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids and CDC get together and they say, well, we would like, they send a report to each state. We would like you to spend this percentage of the money that you're going to get. And it's usually like 3%. It's a very small percentage. They're asking the states to spend somewhere around 3 to 4% of the tobacco settlement money on education and health programs.
Wow.
Do you know
that's
how many?
So small.
Do you know how many states actually meet that small request?
Do I want to know?
I'm going to send it to you.
Really? Oh, wow. That's just such mismanagement. Now, and also in this settlement agreement, that negated tobacco companies from liability for damages to their users.
The states agreed that no citizen would sue for damages.
Mm-hmm.
So the states negotiated the citizen's right to get recompense for damages that they may have incurred because of smoking.
Wow, eh?
And the states agreed to never ban the sale of cigarettes.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, they're taking a cut, right? In all sorts of ways. Taxes and then through the settlement agreement. But, you know, the Vaping the Truth paper that I wrote, the American equivalent, and I have this in the shareable for Canada, but it wouldn't be hard for me to do one for the US too. I think it's the first section of that paper. I go into how much smoking costs the American taxpayer and how much taxes are collected from governmental sources, and the cost far outweighs the taxes. Right? Far outweighs the taxes.
So we've talked about this because we had Dr. Maroa Glover on, who is from New Zealand, and she's a Maori public health person in New Zealand. And her focus is on helping First Nations people, specifically the Maori people, because they have higher percentages of smoking. In America,
same in Canada.
In America, we know that Native Americans have higher smoking, and you know, obviously lower educational resources when it comes to education of harm, and obviously financially they have less money. So you're saying that in Canada it's also an issue with the First Nations of Canada.
Yeah, they've got a real raw deal up here.
So yeah, I mean, here in the States, in the places that have flavor bans, at least the Native American casinos and the Native American tribal lands have been putting up vape shops.
Oh, no kidding!
Because
it's sovereign land, isn't it? Yes, yeah, and I think we have similar laws in Canada for Aboriginal lands. That's clever.
So
can they do internet sales?
No, I don't. I mean, obviously the USPS is possibly, that's one of the bills that's currently stuck somewhere in Congress, is that they are trying to ban transportation of a vapor product through U.S. mail.
They're trying to ban harm reduction. Right? It keeps coming back to that.
all that's going to do is give FedEx and DHL and all the alternative carriers more money.
Oh, I see. So it's just not in the postal service, but
obviously, the federal government can't tell FedEx that they can't carry.
Oh, they can't, eh? Okay.
No, they can't. No, they can restrict how, for example, batteries can't be put on an airplane.
Yeah,
but
you have to keep them with you when you go on a plane.
They can be transported ground.
I see. Okay.
So,
because it'd be considered dangerous goods. Like even if we board a plane in Canada, all my batteries have to be with me in the fuselage.
I mean you can't check them. I mean you shouldn't. You shouldn't, because not only that, but depending on the temperature of the cargo area, your batteries are going to get cold, and then they're going to lose their charge.
I see. Oh, good.
So even if they don't explode, they're not going to be.
I think some didn't they? And then that's when they enacted laws. So transportation.
There was I think there was one instance where somebody's batteries caught their luggage on fire.
Yeah.
But we've had issues because people are stupid. I mean, obviously, when you're transporting your batteries, they need to be in something like this.
What's that?
Yep.
Is a battery box.
Oh, a battery box. Oh, because you have those batteries you take out and put into a charger.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
called. Those are mods. Yep. I don't know a lot about hardware. Sorry.
So, I mean, if you have
I know science.
if you have a device that has user serviceable batteries, that they need to be transported outside of the device in a box.
Okay.
It
can get heavy if you vape a lot.
Well,
wow.
I mean,
That's
this
fancy.
is a pretty compact little device. I mean, it's not very big, so they don't have to be giant, and things like this huge thing is huge, and I will show off my matchy.
Oh, fancy.
Shiny
Looks like
blue.
a transformer or something. You know what I use when I travel? A friend of mine, David Sweener, I was out in Ontario and I visited him, and he brought some things over from Europe. And it's just like it's not snooze, it's the next thing. And then you just put it in your cheek, and then you're on that 4-hour flight. And no Nick Fit. It's really convenient. Yeah, but I don't think you can find them in Canada.
No, those are nicotine pouches, I believe is what that's the new one. But I mean, if I'm gonna fly and I'm gonna be on the plane for a while, I'm gonna stop and buy a can of snooze.
Oh, you can buy snooze in the US.
Yeah, we can buy
I don't
Swedish.
think we have it here.
We can buy Swedish Match snooze in the United
great.
States. They were granted their PMTA, as well as their modified. They got a limited modified risk tobacco application through, so they're allowed to make exposure claims. So you're essentially exposing yourself to fewer harmful chemicals. Is basically how they
Harm
have to word
reduction.
it. But they can't say that they can't make a health claim. They can't. They can't say this is healthier than, but they can say you are exposing yourself to fewer chemicals than in a combustible cigarette.
True. Yeah, I can say if something's healthier.
I can too, and Kevin can too, because we're not in the industry and we don't sell anything.
Right.
But if you work for a vape shop, or if you own a tobacco company or
that's
a vape
awesome,
company, regardless of whether you're making it in a marketing material or as a human being, you are making a comment on your personal private social media, you're still breaking the law.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
Sorry?
So if you own a vape company,
okay,
and you make a reduced harm claim on your personal Facebook page about the reduced harm, you are still breaking the law.
Wow. That's a violation of, I think that's your First Amendment, isn't it?
No, because you are a corporate entity. So there's a difference between free speech and personal human as versus corporate speech. So
if you are a shareholder in a corporation, then you then represent that corporation. Well, then there's a lot of people out there that, have portfolios and they own shares in Walmart and mining companies. Does that extend to them as well?
No, because it's not you're not the public face of that corporation.
I
that
see.
Company.
Okay.
And small mom and pop companies, every employee is the face of the company.
Yep.
I see. Okay.
Everybody.
So I'm not telling you to stop, because I really want somebody to litigate this.
Look at Mark. Look at Mark go.
Mark is my litigation friend. Like he is not afraid to sue the fuck out of the governor of the state that he lives in. And so I'm waiting for somebody. I'm waiting for this particular thing. Now that the deeming has happened, now that the deadline has happened, eventually they're going to start looking at social media, marketing, advertisement, and I'm waiting because they have what they call a 3-click rule. So it depends on how many degrees of separation your account is versus your company's account. So, for example, if you have an online store and you have a clickable link to the VTA, which is the trade organization, and on that first click, VTA has a slide that says vaping is 95% less harmful than smoking. That's only 2 clicks. So your company could be held liable to anything on that first click.
Oh, this is really.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
really.
Are they going to pay someone to do this? Like, is this where your tax dollars are going to go to people spying on you in social media?
They've spent $17 million this year on social media monitoring.
Wow.
FDA.
Kelly, they called me a bot.
I know.
Frank Pallone was in the Energy and Commerce hearings saying that I think Mark and whoever else were bots. I don't know how much money they spent, but for Christ's sake, stop.
So won't. Social media. I mean, that is we should actually start a research company. Just call it Media Research Incorporated or something, and apply for grants to do social media monitoring. Because they get like they just released an $8 million survey or study where they were watching people on Twitter, and they proved that vaping is not, people are not using these products to quit smoking.
What are they using them for?
All they did were keyword searches for Juul, and just monitored all of the Juul tweets that they could get up that came up with hashtag.
I think I saw this.
And
was that like last year?
No, it was just released last week.
Oh, okay. You have to send me that link.
And based on the results of those tweets, they concluded that and they showed samples of the tweets, and it was younger people talking about getting buzzed off of Juul.
Yeah, a heady.
And it had nothing. I mean, obviously, they threw everybody under the bus from a handful of tweets about buzz or how cool it was, and there were no tweets in the examples of people saying, you know what, I'm glad I found Juul because I don't smoke anymore.
Right.
What did you say it should be called? The what research institute?
Well, Media Research Institute.
Media. That's beautiful. MRI. We would have instant respectability. Instant respectability, Patrick. You're oh my God, I have to say this.
Somebody give me and Kevin money to file for the nonprofit in the LLCs. Let's do a fundraiser. We're gonna apply for a bunch of grants.
Everything I publish now is going to be through the Media Research MRI. That's coming.
Yeah, and we'll pay you back from because the first grant will be $200,000. We'll just throw a little proposal out there to do some meta analysis about vaping. We'll get some of the glance money because since he's retiring.
Yeah, he's retired well, didn't he?
He retired quick.
Yeah, but that man got.
He's not going anywhere. I've said this. You might have missed this because you were absent, Kevin. He's not going anywhere. He's going to take his show on the road. Yeah, he's going to appear on every talk show. He's going to be an expert witness in every fucking lawsuit or every hearing. He's going to be cashing checks from Truth and from Campaign for Tobacco Free to be an expert witness. And he still said, I'm not done with the stuff that I've already started, the research that I've already started. We will conclude. But yeah, he's not going anywhere.
He was the keynote speaker in our national tobacco control conference last year.
Oh my God. Why?
Yeah.
Well, last September, he was in New Zealand.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's still going to be. We're still going to be able to pick on him about looking at women's boobs and being inappropriate to his female staff from now until doomsday.
Yeah,
and he will still be untouchable.
Yep, pretty much.
Anyway,
MRI. I love that.
That's catchy.
I did vaguely call you a genius. I want to make sure you understood that. That way you have the sound bite.
I got software. I can make anything. I can make any word I say sound like you said it. So it's all right.
It's a rare thing that I would say. maybe Glenn will show up in Michigan and Mark might meet him. That's all I gotta say.
Over the past 2 weeks, there's been 2 nicotine conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So not this past week, but the week before was the Global Tobacco Forum, GTNF. Yeah. And I actually applied and was granted media access.
Nice.
Because of Smoke Free Radio. So I was able to, and I, got a lot of questions answered. Like I had a separate chat window where I could put questions that the regular people didn't get to, they got some questions from them too. But, and then this week they did, it wasn't a WHO associated thing, but Dr. Glover and a couple other people did the 30 years of the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, a retrospective. And there was a lot of really good talks there as well. If you go on YouTube or if you go to those websites, the GTF, that one is still live for another 2 weeks. You can watch all of the videos. The consumer one was really good because there were consumer advocates from America, obviously, because Alex was the moderator. They had a gentleman from India. You know how I'm like all about like getting angry about India.
Mm-hmm.
Those poor guys closed their shops for business to go home for the night and came back to work the next morning, and all of the vape shops in India were padlocked.
Wow. That was during a Valley outbreak, yeah?
That was, yeah. I mean, about the beginning parts of that. They had a gentleman from Hong Kong, Hinaj Mitchell, and he's going to be on the show next week because we want to really focus on the international efforts, because we've spent 3 or 4 years talking about America all the time. So we're moving outside of the country. They had a young lady from the Philippines that was a consumer advocate in the Philippines, and also a law student. So I'm going to get her on because my wife is from the Philippines and I have a sort of a connection in the Philippines. But, I really think that a lot of times, and I've said this on the show a lot, Americans, we sort of just look at what we're doing, and we're not really looking at our brothers and sisters in other countries. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time talking about Australia and New Zealand in here because we have a lot of Kiwis and Aussies that listen and watch the show. But I really want to make a point. Obviously, our neighbors to the north, we've had Canadian shows. We had a host. We had a show here called The State of Vape. That was a Canadian focused show.
I was on Reg Watch.
Reg Watch is not on Smoke Free Radio. I'm talking about Smoke Free Radio. I'm just
he was on with us.
Yeah. Brent was on the show, but Brent is a different creature because he's media. He's not regular folk. I want to get the consumer advocates in all of these places, like Kellie Ann is a consumer advocate.
Am I? Is that what I'm classified as?
Kelly,
are you a consumer?
Patrick, this is Kelly.
I don't know. I don't know if I fit into a category. I wasn't really.
Well, you're not in industry.
Nope.
So you're a consumer. You use these products. I've seen you.
Yeah.
So you are a consumer.
Okay.
So you are a consumer advocate.
Am I? Okay. I didn't know to call myself that.
Yes. You don't have ties to industry. You don't collect dollars from this industry. You're fighting for this industry out of passion and
I've helped many patients and their families through the palliative process of smoking related diseases.
So
you only have to see a few of those before you. If there's a way for you to prevent that suffering, if you're a good nurse, you'll try, right? Yeah.
Perfect consumer advocate, though. I mean, your focus is education.
Yep.
And on healthcare providers. I mean, it seems like there's a big section on your website that's about educating healthcare providers, obviously,
and the
public and legislators. So you're the same animal as us.
Well, for sure. I want the truth to come out as much as you do. And I want people to benefit from this technology. I want people. I also want people to wake up that their government and their health authorities are doing stuff differently than what they think they are, right? They think that people trust authority. And I don't know if that's warranted from what I know.
No,
we need to
anymore.
revamp the system somehow and make sure that the credible evidence is reaching the health professionals and benefiting the public without any interference and agendas and corporations and industries in the way. You know, a straight line, scientific evidence, doctor, nothing in between, right?
Well, see, we have this thing called evidence-based practice.
Yep, that we use the same terminology.
So for us in healthcare, at least, we don't adopt treatments and protocols until we have evidence that they're beneficial.
We think we don't.
Well,
but you know from vaping that is not 100%. So what else is compromised? That's the problem.
Well, yeah, no, that's the what's the word I want to use? That is the perfect example. Is that we would do everything in evidence-based practice.
And maybe at one time it was. You know,
Well,
when these organizations were first founded, perhaps they were following their ethical mandate. And perhaps they were interpreting the science and forwarding those findings to the health community. But something has happened that's not the reality with tobacco harm reduction.
When the FDA was originally established, obviously it was because we had food safety problems. We had drug safety problems. And then obviously over the years with with them absorbing and getting bigger and gaining new authorities and gaining more control, because obviously the word control is a really bad word. I don't like that word because that's them controlling. So their desire is to control what you can have, what choices you can make. So not only do they want to decide, not only are they regulating what is safe, instead of saying, okay, we've inspected the facilities, this product is not going to kill you. Now here's the facts. You decide. They're saying, you know what? We don't approve you to sell that product. We don't approve you to buy that product, no matter what information you have. So no longer is it a food safety program or a drug safety program where you can be informed and make your own informed decisions. They want the control to say what can and can't be available.
Right.
Instead of testing product and saying, you know what, cigarettes will kill you 50% of the time if you use them as directed, and just saying, you know what, you need to put that on the label and let people decide what they do with it. They're saying, you know, we're controlling this. So instead of being able to tell vape companies, you know what, we have science that proves that this is 95% safer than smoking, put that on the label, educate your consumers, and let them decide what they want to do with their bodies.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. I mean, they should say, okay, you're required to tell people what your product does, how harmful it is, and let them make an informed decision about whether they want that product or not.
Yeah.
That's what regulation should be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Instead
let
of saying,
adults make their decisions.
You don't have the right to sell it, and those consumers over there, like Kevin and I, they don't even have the right to want that.
No.
Yeah. No. And you can't share information. Right?
Yeah.
You can't share. Okay, well,
so
there is a way around that, though.
The one thing the FDA will not allow vape companies to do is to tell people what the relative risk of their product is.
Right. But will they allow vape shops to have a tablet on their counter that's linked to VAEP's website?
Yeah.
We'll do the education for you then. It's all free.
You can actually print out copies of the Royal College of Physicians report and put
The whole
it on
thing.
your counter.
Yeah, the whole thing.
You can buy printed copies of it if you don't want to print it out yourself. And
a
put it on
shop.
the counter, but you can't read excerpts of it out loud to your customer.
But you can have a tablet on your shop, on the counter, and put it to our homepage, and then they can do their own self-education in your shop because we're doing the education.
Yep.
Right. CASA is in some of them. Kim Schilling up in Michigan, I don't know her shop offhand. Kim has a quote from Gottlieb that she enlarged and printed and put it on her wall. So those things are done, but they can't say it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have
You
Mitch
can read
Zeller.
it, but you can't say it. Is that
We have
correct?
Mitch Zeller in
But don't touch.
in a Senate hearing.
Sniff, but don't taste.
that these products are safer. We have the head of the FDA's Tobacco Center in an actual Senate committee making.
Oh, is that
a
when he said,
statement.
"So what"?
No, that's
that was a different
That's
guy.
Cuomo. That's Cuomo.
Oh,
We have
right,
the
that's New York.
Yeah, we have the head of the FDA Tobacco Center saying if we could get every smoker to completely switch from those combustible products to these new electronic products, it would be a net public health benefit.
I think I've read that. That was years ago, though. That was like 2015
that was in 15
or something.
That was in
Right,
15.
Okay.
We have that. We have him admitting that this product is a
What did he
public
say
health
after
benefit.
that, though? Is that he the one that coined vaping epidemic? Like,
No.
oh, okay.
That was
CDC?
CDC, and that was CDC that
Okay.
started that. But FDA are the ones that actually did the market research to figure out what terminology to use.
Yeah, that sounds like propaganda and public manipulation instead of facilitating informed decision making.
Do you actually believe that any marketing material, and that's what FDA does, is marketing material, that anything that they release is not in any way, shape, or form designed for control or manipulate?
When I did my initial research in 2014, I gave an interview to Move. And, honestly, when I did my initial research on vaping, I went through a bit of a depression because I was devastated as a nurse to learn that the information that is available to the public was not reflective of the science. It was very fear-based and negative, and it excluded so much pertinent information. And that was really hard for me to accept because... when I go to those sources for information on diabetes or, heart disease, how much of that is true, right? So it's kind of like once you lie, it's hard to trust you again, right?
One of the ex-heads of the American Heart Association, was it American Lung or American Heart, came out like about 3 years ago with a statement. He was no longer in charge of American Heart or American Lung. I can't remember which org it was. Basically saying that he knows that vaping is safer than smoking and it would help people quit smoking, but he's no longer in a position of power, so it really doesn't matter what he knows. And I'm trying to remember which guy that was. But yeah, I mean, you have public health corporations. I don't call them public health organizations because they're corporations.
They are.
They are specifically profit based now. I mean, that's what they're doing. And the heads of these organizations have multi-million-dollar salaries.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
This is not like...
I have a few shareables in the anti-harm reduction advocate section that calls out these nonprofits and how much money they produce. And, and it's not maybe only just, it may be a career decision. You need that funding from Big Pharma. You need the grants from the government. And if you're not towing the line and repeating the narrative, you're not going to get that funding. And if you decide you don't want to work for these agencies anymore, even the FDA or whatever. Like the head of Health Canada, she now works for Altera, right? So if you do, kind of like, if you compromise the message to someone's pre-decided, narrative, then you may have a very good career when you're done in that position. Like I don't know how to fix it, but I do know that it won't be fixed until the health professionals understand that they have been deceived about the solution to the tobacco epidemic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So one of the things that I want to talk about, or I want to ask everybody to do, everybody that's still here, I know that some people have left, but I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to go to the You Don't Know Nicotine trailer on the Third Line Films official page. And I want you guys to share that trailer on your Facebook. At this point, they have 11,972 views, which is good, I guess. But there are millions of people that need to see this trailer, and they need to be able to point at the number of people looking at this trailer when they're trying to get this on a streaming service so that the masses can see the film. So what I need y'all to do, and I'm throwing the link in the chat rooms, is, go and share that on your media. Share that link on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your stuff, and I'll go and do it on my Twitter in a little bit. Because I mean, this is a favor that we really need to do this. If we want people to see this film, then we need to draw attention to it. We need to show that people care about this topic, so that Netflix or Amazon or these streaming people will actually, because they buy the film so that they can put it up. I mean, it's not like Kevin or it's not like Aaron can go to them and say, you know what, please put this on your streaming service. That's not how this works.
No.
So the Netflix has to see that there's a desire to look at this topic. So the only way to do that is to show how many people have viewed the trailer on the YouTube page.
I'm going to give you a little better perspective on this too. When you go to work, you work for money. Aaron works for money. So that said, when you're looking at nicotine, and everybody's been using nicotine as a smoker in the room, I'm assuming, and there's never been a documentary of any kind from any place about nicotine. They'll give you snippets. They'll give you the little cartoon people, and the Truth Initiative is going to show you the nicotine heavy metal stories. But there's never been there's been documentaries about toenail fungus. So why not nicotine? So yeah, sorry, Kelly. So the medical professions of all styles and kinds and types have been told for years nicotine is addictive, since the 80s at least. And there's never been a documentary done about nicotine. Why is that? So if you don't know nicotine, or you think you do, you don't. So I have a different reason for it. I had the Nicotine is Addictive challenge. Nobody came up with anything of any substance, at least. And vapors tried. Not one health professional tried. So when this film was announced and the group was formed, and there's a group they have, it was intriguing to me. So if it's not intriguing to you, don't do anything. If it is, do so. It's more than just about smoking. It's not about vaping, or I'd have been at it, Aaron, and he knows that. And it's a very, very important topic, because you're being lied to both ways. There's sets of lies going on. So this is very, very important. Sorry, Patrick, I didn't mean to ramble.
No, but since you watched the film, this won't spoil the film for me. Did Dr. Paul Newhouse actually get interviewed for the film?
Dr. Paul Newhouse was in the film, and it led me to no less than 4 more studies before I went down the rabbit hole. Who was that? Paul said that on my page. Four 4 more studies for me. Nothing about addiction. Has nothing to do with addiction. You need to watch this freaking film. Period.
I just, I've always gone back to that quote from Dr. Newhouse, because he's been studying nicotine for
30,
some crazy number of years, and has conducted numerous studies on the effect of nicotine in the brain and the benefits and whatever's going on. And when they, 3 or 4 years ago, he was in an interview and they were talking about the addictiveness of nicotine. And he goes, look, I've been injecting nicotine into animals and humans for decades, and at no point has a mouse ever tried to self-administer nicotine to themselves like they do for other addictive chemicals. And at no point has any of my human patients come up to me and said, Doc, can I have a fix?
Zero. Nobody
never happened.
Smoking. None of them started smoking.
Never happened. So
and these were non-smokers.
Yeah. So when it comes to the addictiveness of nicotine, I will say that the human body might find a beneficial property or a beneficial effect of nicotine and want that benefit. Yeah. But on the scale of addictiveness, I will argue that my caffeine addiction is way more powerful than my nicotine addiction. My first move in the morning used to be to light a cigarette.
It was
before I did anything else. Now that I'm no longer a smoker and I vape 12 milligram nicotine, the first thing I do in the morning now is go and get my cup of coffee. And I may not have my first puff on my electronic cigarette or my vapor device or whatever the fuck I want to call it today.
Your penis.
For a couple hours sometimes.
Really?
So.
Wow.
Yeah, I can go half hour, an hour, 2 hours. Depends.
It's the first thing in the morning.
For me, the coffee is way more important than the nicotine. Mm-hmm. And, I do vape, like I said, I do vape higher levels than average. Some vape companies don't even make e-liquid that I can vape because they don't make 12 milligram. So that's just to say that nicotine is not the boogeyman. Nicotine is not as addictive as what we believe or what we've been told. I know that just from, I haven't even seen the film yet. And I know that just from reading thousands of pages of science.
Yeah, but
and brain chemistry.
Those studies where they've done follow-ups on subjects, where they've done studies for nicotine and neurological disorders, etc., that's not the same introduction of nicotine as you get from a tobacco cigarette with an adolescent brain.
Right.
Well, no,
right. The circumstances are very different there.
Well, not only that, but there are certain little evil things that people don't really know until they climb down the rabbit hole. But for example, we know that the FDA or the tobacco control people, prior to FDA having control of cigarettes in the United States, approved a maximum amount of MAOIs.
Yeah.
To be there is an allowable level of MAOIs.
Acetaldehyde, I think it's called, isn't it?
That's one of them.
Yeah. There's more than one.
Yes.
Oh.
So.
Oh yeah.
So the addictive qualities that are there in combustible cigarettes, are not the nicotine. The most addictive things in the cigarette are not the nicotine.
Well, yes, they add up to 600 chemicals, and much of those chemicals enhance the delivery and the effects of nicotine, including ammonia salts, right?
And that is also prior to combustion.
Hear that word.
Yes.
They have to enhance the delivery of nicotine. So think, people, think.
Yeah.
Think for yourselves.
So in addition to the 600 raw ingredients, up to 600 raw ingredients that are allowed, when you light them on fire, what happens? There's more chemical reactions, producing thousands of compounds that you're inhaling into your body. And all of those you don't believe that you don't believe that RJR has a multi-billion-dollar scientific facility in Geneva, Switzerland. You don't believe that they've tested to figure out what compounds are delivered. So they know, okay, well, if we put this and this raw ingredient in there, when they light that on fire, we're going to get these 4 components that are even more habit forming.
So then you remember in history when they had the head of all the tobacco companies in front of Congress, I believe it was, and they all said, I believe that nicotine is not addictive. And then people said they were lying. Maybe they weren't. They didn't expand on that, say, but we can make it addictive. If we add XYZ, you'd be amazed how addictive it is, right?
That's a beautiful thing you bring up, because what I think happened was that they brought them in to make them patsies, to make them look stupid. That's what I think they did. I think that was a setup, and I think they did tell the truth.
I think so too.
And they spun it. That's what I think. That's my opinion. So
then they could demonize nicotine, right?
Right around the time the patch and the gum came out, yeah. Right around this time, the Surgeon General report that the guy that owned the patent that wrote the Surgeon General report came out, yeah, that's about the same time, yeah. And then suddenly, you were convinced that you were addicted to nicotine.
Kevin, make sure you put your tinfoil hat on right. It's a little crooked.
Wait a minute,
but you know something that's interesting is in Canada, anyone, including children, can purchase nicotine products in a drugstore. That's how safe it is. You're there too, eh?
12 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And nobody's freaking about like Nicorettes or anything.
And they come in flavors. They
sure do.
Now, they are kind of pricey.
Who's the guy that's
nicotine gum is not cheap here.
It's not cheap here either.
I think it was Demetrius that asked the Surgeon General, because Jerry's a special fucking guy. He said something about
you love him.
Why can't you guys just use tobacco flavored? Yeah, because I said fucking and Jerry in the same sentence. It's 2 actually. Why can't you just use tobacco flavored
gum?
Vape. No, vape. And Demetrius, I think, is the one that did. I want to give the credit to the right person, but I'm pretty sure it was Demi, said, that's funny, they don't have tobacco flavored gums, at all.
Lozenges.
Right?
Or sprays.
So kiss my ass, Jerry.
I have a study on my hard drive from a pharmaceutical company that studied the effects of nicotine gum compliance and flavors. So we've known for a long time that flavors are very important for compliance in nicotine replacement therapies.
Can you hear the rocks in my head shaking when I shake my head so adamantly?
Did you,
I can.
Kelly, can you recall a study recently, a year and a half, 2 years maybe, higher nicotine levels are safe? So let's pretend for a second that I have a theory that they wanted to limit, like you get 3, 6, 12, 18, maybe 24 patches milligram. Maybe that they're not giving you 32, 36, 48. Maybe those nicotine levels aren't high enough, so they're really not effective.
This is why those high nic salts are so important to make available to heavy smokers. And you have to actually increase their nicotine dose when they're transitioning off of cigarettes for a better transition.
And now you can smoke and use the patch, the gum, whatever. That was taboo for years. My dad.
But that all depends on a person's tolerance.
Yeah.
Right? Every human being has their own unique biochemistry. And we build what's known as a compensatory response when we take in a drug. That's why, the first time you drink it, 2 beers will get you drunk. If you keep doing that, by the end of the year, you can drink a case without getting drunk, right? It's called a compensatory response.
I'm Irish. A case is not enough. You guys are gingers, but I'm actually from Ireland. My grandparents are from Ireland.
Oh, is that right? I'm not from Ireland. Neither am my lineage. Scottish.
Oh, they're even worse.
That's close enough. Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm Canadian. Let's just leave it at that. Right?
A.
Have I said A once? Probably not.
No, except for when you said I'm going to say it. You well, no, she said it, but she was like, "I need to start saying A." But
Stop saying right.
Yeah, or you know.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are going to learn.
But this was really easy. This was really easy to just have a conversation with you. So thank you for that.
Kevin and I have been doing this for a little while, and I've been doing it by myself.
It's like 30 years for you.
It feels like forever. I've been doing smoke-free radio for 6 years, and I did the vaping militia radio for 2 years, and I did So I've been doing this for like 8 years.
Wow.
So I'm comfortable doing it, and then we have guests come on, and the whole point of this is not to sound like a lecture. We want people to come and watch this. We want people to listen to the replays or watch the videos. And we do them, 3 hours. We're at 3 hours and 1 minute right now. Because, you can break it into chunks if you want to. I listen to podcasts in my car all the time because I do home health. So I'm in and out of my car all day. So I don't listen to myself, but I listen to other podcasts, and I like the format. So that's why even though we're doing the video show, the radio show is important to me. So that's why, we do what we do. And we want people to be entertained and have some fun, but also learn stuff. So like your bullshit meme is educational and funny.
Oh, that's a poster. I gotta take that off. I was having a moment. I just couldn't stand the misinformation anymore.
I'm gonna save it before you delete it because I.
You should see the new ones that I have designed for the vaping facts program. I've done a whole thing for the Valley section, and I'm still working on it. But my art design skills have really improved since I've done that poster.
So you need a better picture of a bullshit.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to say that, so I just put emojis up.
Just put a picture of our Surgeon General's face on there. And just use the word bullshit.
But if you have like quotes of people that are being misleading or something, if you just send that to me, I can whip up a shareable. Like there's a whole section called anti-harm reduction advocates. It's a whole shareables collection. And it's got the American Medical Association, Lung Association, Cancer Society. It's got them all on there. It's got politicians on there. That guy in San Francisco, he was a finance minister. So that's how I deal with the frustration. I'll make a shareable, and then that gives me an outlet because I'm so fatigued with the lies. Like I'm just so, and I feel so powerless. So and I'm not an artist, but it has given me an outlet to take that frustration and create something. And it does help me manage the stress, the disgust, it's just awful. Change it into something.
I'll have to find the one where it says that during like this just came out like the last 2 or 3 weeks, that every day 8,000 more kids are becoming nicotine addicts due to vaping.
You know what though? It's not fair though, because those nic salts, I vaped them for a while, and they were very similar to the highs and lows that I experienced with tobacco cigarettes.
Okay, I'm not going to debate that, but what I am going to say is during a pandemic when kids have been locked up with their parents and have been under house arrest and can't go out in public, how in the hell are they 8,000 kids a day getting illegal tobacco products at home?
Parenting is an action verb.
So did they amortize it over a year? Like they take a year's worth of new
just made shit up.
addicts? And what is the definition of addict? Right? Does that mean somebody who's tried it once? Like
for them, if one time use in the last year, you are a habitual user.
Oh, okay.
So before Scott Gottlieb left the FDA, before Dr. Scott Gottlieb left the FDA, one of the things that he used as justification for like not softening the regulatory regime is the fact that he got pre-release numbers from the Youth Tobacco Survey.
Okay, we did that here with Hammond's study.
The numbers are scary, he says. The number, this is frightening, this epidemic, blah, blah, blah. So in the last 4 weeks, sometime in the last month, the official release of the Youth Tobacco Survey from last year came out. Mm-hmm. Guess what?
What?
There was a significant decline in youth use of tobacco and vapor products.
Wow. That's unethical on so many levels. And first of all, data should not be reviewed until that article has gone through peer review and it's available for us that are going to challenge his interpretations of it.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing in Canada with the Hammond study.
There's nobody.
They wouldn't release it, and yet they're quoting it, and it's like, oh, how can I confirm that? I don't have access to it. It hasn't gone through the peer reviewed process yet. I mean, that's so incredibly unethical, particularly in that case where he's actually like wrong.
There's a like two-part answer to that.
180, like completely wrong, not even close. He said there was a huge increase and that we had to do something about this epidemic.
Okay, so what are the consequences to him saying that?
Nothing.
Here's what they are.
Okay, that's where the problem lies. There's no accountability for people in positions of power to be held accountable for what they say.
He got a board position with Pfizer.
Yes, I'm sure he did. Yes,
he did.
Pfizer makes a lot of money off of smoking-related diseases.
He got what the information that they wanted to get out without question. So
said he was leaving to go spend time with his family, and 3 weeks later accepted a board position at Pfizer.
Okay, so these people are put into a position of power that have the responsibility of informing the public, and then if they don't tell the truth, and that's brought to light, why is there no accountability? Like, you are charged with causing grievous harm, or you are charged with lying to the public. I mean, there's a problem when you're given power, but you don't have any consequences if you abuse that power, like jail time. Right?
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
So, Kelly, let me ask you this. When they release the numbers, they release the 30-day numbers, but they don't release the daily numbers. So, no, that's not.
No,
I do know the difference.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I do know the difference. Yeah, so, and that's like what I learned in this paper that I based this one you sent me. That the CDC uses the term e-cigarette for.
Did you kill a highlighter? Did you kill a highlighter when you were doing that? Hold that back up.
All my papers look like this.
Oh my God!
I have stacks of papers.
That looks like one of Kevin's tweets.
It is one of my tweets now.
Look at all of these shareables. This is what Kevin sent us. Look at all these are all shareable. All down the sides. I haven't even finished them all. This is like, oh, I love this.
She's not going to go to sleep now, Kevin.
So when you have the information this year, what we have, and you just said the ethics of doing so. They released the vaping 30 days, right?
Yeah.
They didn't release the smoking rates.
They make it really hard to compare the two.
They're really playing with the questions, and they're really playing with the release of the answers.
And if you'll notice, if you go back in history, those questions were congruent year after year, because you would look at the numbers and then you'd compare them to last year. And now they start changing the parameters, changing the questions. And now I can't compare data from 10 years ago to today, because they're like comparing, cars and bicycles, right?
So your thought that you released earlier, your idea, is exactly what they do. So they put out the information, they stick it in your face for months at a time, right? You get used to that. You finally get curious and go, geez, there's an epidemic. Wow. Then when something that truly is true, and they show the daily rates, nobody says a word.
Yeah.
They don't say a thing because they've already convinced the public otherwise. So you're Your idea is a lot bigger than you think it is in my mind, because that's what they do. They manipulate the public into believing what is not true.
But the public are catching on.
They're starting.
They're catching on, and the time is ripe. I mean, Valley was last year.
Mm-hmm.
If we could blitz North America with easy learning resources on a Valley, there a lot of Canadians, anyways, and I imagine Americans all over the world, people are starting to question authority with how they've handled this current disease outbreak, right? So they're like, now they're questioning when they never did before, right? And then you remind them of something they think they know about, and then you let them know that they've been deceived. They'll want to know more.
Yep.
Right? And hopefully they go to the Valley page, and then they go to my home page, and then they go to the basic info page, and then they send their doctor to the health professional section. I just think, to find the right solution, we have to think outside the box, and we have to stop doing what isn't effective. Right? And the core issue is misinformation. People don't trust the media anymore either.
Well, we've been doing media deconstruction on this show for about 5 years. So
deconstruction, what's that?
That means we share a news article on screen, and we show all the lies and how they make the lies believable to the general public.
I did that on there's an article on my website called Vape Fail Correction. So we have a national news agency called the CBC, and it's publicly funded. Okay. And so they did this week-long program called Vape Fail. And the first article they put out was The Road to Vaping. And I got so angry. And instead of, beating my pillow up, I took the PDF, and then I corrected it. And you can find that on our website. I plunked in shareables. I crossed out their lies. I put in the pertinent information. And then I took that to my MLA. And the man hardly listened to me. He was reading it because he found it really engaging. So that's, I guess, the same sort of thing. Yep. Deconstruction. Yeah.
We do media deconstruction here because most people, whether they're in Canada or Australia or America or anywhere else, when they see an article shared, all they see is the photograph that's attached to the picture or attached to the share and the headline.
Yep.
So most of the time, a good percentage of the time at least, you'll find an article where the headline doesn't even match the content within the article.
True, right?
And that's because nobody reads the article.
Oh.
All they do is they read the headline, and if it says vaping caused lung injury, vaping is bad, and there's a picture of somebody blowing a cloud, because they use the same canned thumbnail or the photo resources. They use the same pictures over and over again.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Or you see an article about a battery exploding and hurting somebody. Well, they use the most graphic picture possible, and then they don't explain that the person put the battery in the pocket without a box to protect it. And they had
also
coins.
Don't reference all the other electronic equipment that blows up, right?
Well, there is that, but this is pure user error. An 18650 battery here. I'll hold one up. There's a metal piece at the end here, and this is a green battery, so my green screen is actually.
Oh wow! Look at
the
that.
Metal
That
piece
looks
here.
so neat.
So,
I love it.
If you have keys in your pocket,
I know it'll make a circuit.
Or coins, you'll make a circuit. The battery will go into
even regular batteries. You can't put in with a bunch of metal.
So they don't explain that, but a vaping battery caused injury. That's all and it stirred up a whole bunch of problems, even though it was because nobody either bothered to teach the person when they bought the battery, don't put that in your pocket unless you put it in a plastic box, or they did and they just did it out of negligence and threw it in their pocket. And now they're blaming somebody because they're stupid.
it's just more bad press to feed the false perceptions.
Yep.
Right? Even when there's positive news come out, they'll make a negative headline. Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, people don't read the news anymore.
Oh, I do.
So all they do is they read the headline and they go, "Oh, vaping bad. Vaping bad. Vaping bad.
Straws are bad. Straws are killing the planet."
Not in California. They got laws now. You can't have a plastic straw in California.
And the CDC said you can use those as cessation devices, straws.
Oh.
I've got a meme for that, yeah.
Yeah. Suck on the straw. Or you remember the now this is, I believe that this was a parody, but they, the Truth Foundation or the Tobacco Free Kids or somebody put together, oh no, it was the Real Cost. The Real Cost campaign had these one-pagers that they are supposed to hang up all over schools, and they had a whole bunch of them that they hung in bathrooms. And some kid or somebody put one together because these were some of the most crudest things that you could think of. And somebody put, you might as well put something else in your mouth than that vape.
Oh.
And the new Real Cost, and these are I don't know if you've seen these, but the Real Cost is the FDA funded.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I've seen their videos.
So they have a video of a kid in high school vaping in the bathroom, and she drops her vape in the toilet.
Yeah.
And her friend is like, "Come on, let's go. We got to go." So she reaches in the toilet and does this, and then puts it in her mouth and vapes it.
Wow, that's
lots of subliminal bullshit going on. Yeah.
It probably to subliminally suggest that her addiction is overwhelming.
Yes,
right?
That's what they're trying to say, even though we know that
she's willing.
But the more that have you ever heard of like teenagers? They're not stupid, eh? And they're pretty good at internet.
Hey, she did an
A. I did an A. And they're very proficient online, so they're getting information that contradicts authority, and they can figure it out on their own. That they understand that they're being manipulated, and that makes them more likely, because they'll rebel against that authoritarian, is particularly if it's deceiving, right?
Now, I'm not a parent, but Kevin, you're a parent and a grandparent. So would your teenage sons, when they were in high school, if they dropped something in the toilet, would they then put it back into their mouth?
I hope not.
I don't think it would work once it's been in the toilet either, would it?
It depends. It depends on how long it was submerged.
Oh, is that right?
Here's what I know. The more my parents told me not to do something, the more I was willing to do it.
Yep.
The more I told my kids not to. I told my son, I said, "Now, what are you doing at 1 o'clock in the morning riding a skateboard? You're going to fall and hurt yourself." Well, guess what? 2 days later,
hurt himself.
2 days later, chipped a fucking tooth. He rang the doorbell because he forgot his key. I opened the door. He's got blood all over him.
No.
I said, "What the hell happened to you?" And he goes, "I lost a tooth." I shook my head. I shit you not. Shook my head, walked back to this bedroom, and I went to sleep because I told you so. What is wrong with you idiots? So, the subliminal bullshit that they've been doing. The FDA said we've got 1.3 billion hits on our Real Cost. Well, they don't want any advertising to children. They're advertising to children, and the nonprofits are perpetuating that problem.
Yeah. The only images that teens are getting of teens vaping is from authority.
Yeah. So
right.
Yes.
And again, when they realize that they're being manipulated, they will rebel and they'll be more likely to try vaping.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that from interviewing teenagers.
They knew that all along.
Of course they did.
You can't convince me otherwise. I know you're not going to, but nope. They wanted this out of their hair. They did not want to deal with it.
Well, smoking makes a lot of sick people, and sick people are very profitable.
But they weren't counting on people like you or Mark or Kim or Skip or Aaron or Patrick or Fig or anybody else in the room.
Yeah, but really, how are we doing with this? All these people working on it, man, and they're still killing it.
Yep.
They're killing the solution to smoking, man. Yep. Like, that's just
because of
so
the money.
evil.
I mean, the one thing that we have that they don't. Well, there's two things. Well, there's one thing that we have that they don't have. We have the truth.
Yep.
But they have money, which we don't have.
They have networks and reach and
money and power can destroy the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So we gotta find a way around
it. You can make the masses believe a lie if it's repeated enough and it's said in the right tone and it's said by the right people. So, American Lung Association, American Heart Association, the CDC, the FDA, all those people, all those organizations were founded on good principles, as far as I agree. I mean, they had a mission, to do the right thing. The problem is once money became part of the equation, these public health people, they don't want smoking to go away, because if vaping defeats the smoking problem, what are they going to do? They don't have a job anymore.
Exactly. But I tell you something, nurses
don't have a purpose.
Nurses and doctors want smoking to go away.
Yep.
They do.
Oncologists don't.
Yes, they do. There's plenty of sick people, man. Most of us care about our patients and we want to help them. We want to relieve suffering. This is a compassionate profession.
Nope. Yeah, that's another one.
That's an actual one. That is an official one.
Vaping can expose your lungs to
acrolein, which can cause irreversible damage. What's in vape.com? What's in the vape.com? So
they're very creative.
This is an actual flyer from the Real Cost that is hung in bathrooms in schools in America.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to wipe your butt than your lungs.
Yeah.
Well, it's a true statement.
the crudeness. I mean, they're designing these.
It is crude, though. You're right. Yeah.
They're designing these. So here's another one. This is another one. Strangely enough, some students come in here to put crap into their bodies. Vape can contain some of the same cancer-causing chemicals found in cigarettes. Okay. That's a lie.
So here's why that's deceiving. Okay? Because when you talk about substances, the next question is how much? And then the next question is how does it affect human health? And then the next question is how is that compared to smoking?
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't do that.
We've mentioned it a lot here in the past. This is one that I think is probably a fake. Probably.
That's
a fake. That's a really good.
It's funny though. Alone or with a friend.
Yeah. Pleasuring yourself with vape, try masturbation instead. Masturbating alone or with a friend is a great safe alternative to vaping. What's in a vape.com. So I think that might be a counterfeit one.
I hope so. I just hope so, right?
Yeah. Well, they're saying a lot of stuff in schools that they never would have said when I was a kid.
Oh,
I'm worried about the education nowadays.
The lady surgeon general said something about masturbation, and she almost got killed for it. Can't remember her name.
Well, the WHO has put out some guidelines for rearing children, and at the age of 4, they recommend that children learn to pleasure themselves.
At 4?
Yeah, you can look it up. It's on there. It's childhood development guidelines. I'm not kidding. I downloaded it from the website. I was just like, this is
okay. Well, I'm
really moving in the wrong direction.
Now I'm glad that we withdrew our funding for the World Health. I was already.
You know what? I tell you something. I don't like politics. I've only known one politician that I've respected, and that was Ralph Klein. He was the premier of Alberta. I think we could do better. I think the last great president in my opinion, was JFK. But I wasn't
really
a big.
all that great.
Oh, I thought he had some great speeches.
Reagan had.
Reagan had good speeches too. Yeah, but he did trickle down economics, and that killed the world economy. But I wasn't really pleased with Trump, but I don't really get involved, and I have my reasons. But when he withdrew from WHO, funding from WHO, I took a second look. And then I talked to someone recently who's told me, yeah, but he put like $4 billion into the vaccine manufacturing, so he's still in a roundabout way supporting Gavi.
Well, but he's not funding the same. He's not. I mean, the remdesivir and all the ones. I mean, those are the ones that the World Health and the Gates Foundation are really pushing, and those are not the ones that Trump bought.
I see. Yeah. But I mean, it really made me take another look. And then I started listening to his speeches because he started speaking in complete sentences and I could understand him. And I've been following American politics. I never have in my life. And the conservative perspective. And I'm trying to watch and share stuff from the Democratic perspective, but it just seems to be not so much based in facts. It's a lot of
the Democrats claim to be the party of science. That's that's one of their things. They're like, we're destroying the environment and the global warming, which I will totally agree that humans have impacted the environment and have changed.
Then stop industry from dumping all their shit into our rivers.
Have changed the climate. I will totally say that yes, we have.
I don't know the world. The Alberta where I live is a grasslands. It used to be an ocean, okay, and the Arctic. There are fossilized tropical forests. Okay, so the world is constantly changing.
Well, no, but you got to realize about 65 million years ago there was a polar shift, which caused places that used to be jungle and forest to shift, and this area used to be under a mile of ice. So that wasn't a naturally
I think it's precarious to say that the world is going to stay the same forever because we like it like this. The world changes, how much of that impact is us? I'm unclear on that.
A big huge asteroid hit the Earth and caused the polar shift.
That would be bad.
I mean. That was not a human. That was not caused by humans.
No. Maybe it was like a Star Wars thing. You never know.
A long time ago in a galaxy far away. You never know. But So the Democrats have embraced harm reduction in almost every aspect.
Except vaping,
needle exchanges, safe.
I agree with those.
Safe injection sites,
condoms,
seat belt. Yep. All of those things were initiatives that were pushed by the Democratic Party.
Right.
The one harm reduction strategy. I mean, these are people that are like, we need to give needles away. We need to make sure every teenager has a condom if they want one. Everybody needs to carry a Narcan needle dose in their thing. They need to have all this stuff because these are all harm reduction things. We need them. We have this harm reduction miracle that could conservatively save 500,000 people a year.
Yep.
Billions of people just in America.
Eradicate smoking,
destroy. I mean, cigarettes, and I've said this before, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Cigarettes are the only consumer product that is manufactured and sold in the world, but specifically in the United States, that when used as instructed, as it's meant to be used, will kill or negatively impact 50%, at least half the people that use them as directed.
I think it negatively impacts anyone.
Well, yeah.
Everyone who uses it. But it doesn't necessarily kill them.
Yes.
50 to 2/3, actually, it'll cause direct death.
The only other product that is more successful at killing people
are guns.
When used as appropriately, as instructed by the manufacturer, are suicide vests.
Suicide vest? What the heck is that?
A suicide vest is a vest with the explosives, and when when used as directed,
you get them at Walmart? Like, what is that? Yeah,
100% of the people that use them as directed.
Yes, that's true. That's a really good comparison. Actually, I should do a shareable on that.
So
yeah.
That is the only product that I can think of that is more successful at killing people when used the way that they're supposed to be used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So
yeah, that could be a good shareable, actually.
You could make
There's only one thing that kills you more effectively.
You got to make sure you include the language when used as instructed, because there are other products that if you use, you don't follow the instructions.
Like a parachute.
Yeah. That could actually be more successful. If you don't use it the way
But the thing about smoking, though, is it takes a long time to kill you. Mm-hmm. And they're going to make millions of dollars on your smoking-related diseases before you spend your child's entire inheritance on keeping yourself alive because of this product.
So when you die from a suicide vest, it's an instantaneous thing. It happens immediately. You may hurt.
Yeah, you don't suffer for months and in and out of hospitals. And
they're not bad.
In my career, I've seen people that have COPD, that have not even lung cancer, but chronic lung problems. COPD.
87% of COPD is caused from smoking.
Fighting to not suffocate.
Yeah, they can't even pick up their grandchildren.
Using every auxiliary muscle in their neck, in their chest. You get that barrel chest because all those muscles had just really super defined because they've been fighting and fighting and fighting just to get air.
Yeah, that's the emphysema COPD.
Yeah. Just gasping for air. Like you can never get a satisfied full lung of oxygen. It's like drowning.
Anything. Yeah, it's awful. And they suffer like that for years and years and years. And they spend thousands of dollars every month on puffers and medication and oxygen. And there goes their children's inheritance, especially in the US, right? It can be decades of suffering, and it's 100% preventable, right? That's the thing. It's 100% preventable.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they don't know they have an option.
And nobody wants them to know that they have an option.
Well, let's see what we can do.
Kelly, one of the things that we do before we leave is we give everybody an opportunity to give their final thoughts of the evening.
Is anybody still left?
Oh, there's still 18 people in the Facebook chat room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's still people watching, but we're at 3 hours and 33 minutes. So we're gonna 333 is a good number. So what do you want people to know? What is your final thoughts for the evening?
I would just like people to think a little bit more outside the box and entertain that maybe there's a different methodology to promoting harm reduction by addressing the misinformation directly. And working together as a community to disseminate that information instead of the standard method of appealing to authority. Maybe we could work as a community and do this in a very compassionate and caring way by empowering people with knowledge instead.
That was lovely. Kevin.
Oh, I'm clicking and talking at the same time. I'm going to work on the Media Research Institute. The MRI studies are going to start coming out. No nicotine. You don't know nicotine. They're KNOW nicotine.com. That film is very important. You're going to find eventually when they can figure out how to release this properly that there's things being done on purpose. There's also valid concerns from the other side, from both sides. Joe Jorgensen is someone you want to look at least, especially after I saw that ad today. Kelly, I've admired you and followed you, and we know each other from 2014 or so. I think you saw my survey, and then you did your paper, and you're an astounding human being. You know, you're pro-human. I call you pro-human.
Yeah.
You will, and I've seen you do it on different timelines. If you're wrong, you're open-minded, like you just suggested others be. You'll listen to the evidence, and you'll change your narrative of what you're trying to do.
True.
And you take it very well. You're well-spoken, eloquent, and I liked your testimony. I don't care what the British accent.
We'll never go back to that, right?
I really don't care about that, but it sounded like a fake American accent. That's what I think.
Oh, stop.
I'll try to stop trolling you, whoever that is. Please stop trolling Kelly. It's not worth it. And it's amazing that you said earlier that after you realized for yourself personally that this was it, this changed your life, your trajectory, and you mentioned that you kind of got depressed about the things that you were reading, and that motivated you eventually into what's become VAEPworld.com for anybody that's listening on the podcast, vapeworld.com, and VAEP World on Twitter as well. So I'm enamored with you. I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad Patrick finally realized who you are. I probably mentioned you 7,000 times. Who knows? No, not really. But yeah, this is an important thing for other parts of the world. We've hit Australia. Now we've hit Canada in this fashion. We've had some Canadians on in the chat, I know, but this is important. What you do is important, and as a consumer, I appreciate it. So that's
my pleasure.
Yeah. So there you go, Patrick. Hit it.
Yeah, that's very kind of you.
I think that this week has been a perfect example of where we are, and obviously in America, we're in this weird, funky sort of divided. This industry's divided because politically, we talk about how diverse vapors are. That vapors don't come from one spectrum; they come from every, corner of the world. We have conservative vapors, we have liberal vapors, we have straight vapors, black vapors, gay vapors, trans vapors, redneck vapors like me and Kevin. We have such a broad group that we're divided. You look at the country itself. We have the Republicans and Democrats. We have Trump and Biden just spewing nonsense on TV. We have people who are no longer trusting of their own authority groups. These people that are supposed to be trustworthy, these government employees that are supposed to be reliable to give you information that is true. And we, obviously, as vapors that have been following this, we understand that these people have been lying to us for decades, not just about vaping, but about other things. And we're lost. We're floating rudderless because we don't know who to trust anymore. We don't trust the media because we've seen countless stories over the last 5-10 years lying to us. We've had studies conducted in 2015 and 2016. 70% of the general public believed that vaping was safer than smoking. And then we have that same study repeated last year that showed that 70% of the general public now believe that vaping is as harmful or more harmful than smoking. We have all of these sheep who are being led to the slaughter. Lemmings jumping off of a cliff. I can throw any number of metaphors out here to describe how sorry our situation is. We have a government agency trying to destroy harm reduction miracles. That's what this is. So, I cannot express how important it is for everyone. The reason we do the media deconstruction, the reason we show you how to read an article and be a critical thinker is so that you can take that skill out into the world and show people where they've been lied to, show people the truth about this, because, you know, Kellie's tools are going to be invaluable to people if we can get them to a broader audience, if we can get them out into the hands of people. You know, you vapors, I love you, but I don't really care about you anymore because you've already found the smokers, the people that have loved ones that smoke, that can go to them and say, you know, this is a better route. This is something that will save your life. And I really care about you and I want you to not die. Those are the people we want. The smokers, the people that love smokers. Vapors, you've already found the miracle. God bless you. I'm glad you're not going to die. But we need to get the rest of the people. We need to get that 70% back. So, you know, I cannot express how grateful I am for everybody that comes to the show, that listens live or listens to the replay. Share this stuff. Go to Vape World, VAEP World. Get that out into the public. Tweet it. Share it on Facebook. You know, if you're in vape groups that will allow you to do advocacy, because there are some vape groups out there that don't really give a shit anymore. And you know what? Fuck them. I'm tired of people that are taking money from this industry and are not willing to share information and get more people passionate about trying to protect this industry. As consumers, we're always looking for places for us to fight. The industry groups sometimes don't really address us very well. CASA has a lot of stuff on their hands, and they can't always tell us what to do either. So rather than having a whole bunch of people just running around doing random shit, find other people that are like-minded and work together as a unit to find something that you can do that's constructive, that will help the cause. I'm tired of waiting for people to tell us what to do. So it's our job to find our own shit to do. You know, I love Alex and Julie, and they're got a lot of shit on their plates. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not being negative, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines that could be acting, and they're waiting. And we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to be reactive. We're going to start being proactive. But anyway, love you guys. It's Friday night, so you know we say that it's Saturday morning, so we always say the same thing. You know, when we're done here, turn off the computer, go find your kids, kiss them on the head, go hug your wife, have a nice weekend. There's probably football or something for you to do. There's barbecuing, because that's what I'm going to be doing. Barbecuing, have a beer, relax with the family, because Monday all this shit starts again, and we'll be back in 7 days. We're going to have a great guest next week. We're going to have Hinaj Mitchell from factasia.org. And we're going to talk about Hong Kong and Southeast Asia and probably Australia and New Zealand as well, because that's all in that same little area. So that's what we're doing next week. And we're working on I'm trying to get ahead of the game and get guests lined up weeks in advance. Supposedly Clive is going to be available at some point. We're going to get Clive Bates on. That's something we're working on. We got Joe Jurgensen somewhere coming. A presidential candidate might be here.
A presidential candidate.
So we're working on shit. You know, I really didn't want to say anything about Joe Jurgensen, but it was actually on a public tweet where I was tweeting at her, I'm glad that you're going to be on the show at some point. And she's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know, but anyway, so let's get this shit done. Let's just, you know, recharge, get energized, and get ready, because we're not going to let these liars continue to lie to people anymore. So love you. Thank you, Kellie Ann, for coming. Obviously, Kevin, I'm glad you're back. And we're just going to say goodnight to everybody. So we're going to play the outro. See you later. Have a good one, and we'll be back in 7 days. Bye-bye.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
We're exporting a whole lot of really bad and dangerous rhetoric, bad research, and unfortunately it's being picked up and amplified in other countries.
It's the same battle, Mr. Myers. We've been at it before. They want to addict these kids, this time to an e-cigarette, which has a chemical that's addictive. We know what it leads to. Sadly, it leads to tobacco addiction, disease, and death.
I'm going to get you addicted to nicotine. I have a customer for life. We have hundreds of cases nationwide where people have gotten sick or died using these devices.
Look what they're trying to do. All the delicious flavors of e-cigarettes are poison.
They're not people giving up smoking. They're not people that ever smoked before. Most people that vape never smoked before. Just think if your kid was doing this and winds up with an IQ 10 or 15 points lower than he or she would have had for the rest of her life.
Most people who vape are current or former smokers. For the addicted adult smoker who switches, there's going to likely be a reduction in risk.
There's a tremendous push to bring about prohibition, to actually prohibit vaping. Whereas the evidence strongly suggests that actually, up to now, the most successful way of people stopping smoking cigarettes is vaping.
Yeah. When vaping increases, smoking decreases.
That's right.
When vaping is restricted, smoking increases.
We're worried that, in fact, a lot of members of the public still think that using an e-cigarette is as harmful as smoking a cigarette. I mean, I have said that it would be tragic if smokers didn't quit and carried on smoking because they hadn't tried an e-cigarette, because they were worried about the safety of an e-cigarette.
The most disheartening thing is still the anti-choice rhetoric, the desire to enforce this quit or die mentality and refuse to allow individuals to reduce their risk unless they're willing to give up everything.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.